Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 544. It's March 29th, 2018. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined by Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
Christopher Davis.
Hello.
And we have a shit ton of video games to talk about today. I got I can't speak. Far Cry 5, Ni No Kuni 2, Way Out, Sea of Thieves, all these things.
Dude, so many new games today.
Dude, like,
This
compared to
was the
last
week.
week when we didn't have anything.
Like, this is the worst time for me because like there was like a huge stretch. I don't want to say there weren't any new games because there was a couple,
It's
but
been kind of a slower start
none I
this
was
year.
particularly wanting to play. So I was playing some older stuff, and then all of a sudden, like everything I want to play comes out at once, and
Yep.
it's like, God damn it!
End of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Yep, so we have quite a few new games to talk about today. Of course, I want to get some of the other stuff out of the way first. We're going to kick things off by reading some feedback in a moment from our last episode. Actually, why don't we just get that out of the way right now?
Sure.
So, of course, every single week when we talk about whatever the fuck we talk about, if you have any thoughts or opinions you'd like to share with us about those conversations, please leave us a comment at 4playernetwork.com, and we will start the next episode off by reading your feedback and reacting to it, responding to it, and doing so enters you in a drawing to win a free game every month. So, actually, next week I'll be announcing the winner for March. So tune in next week to
Do
find
you
out
like
who the
free
winner.
shit?
Yeah,
This is the way to get it.
Any video game you want, up to a $60 value. That's a pretty good deal.
That's
Pretty
like
good
two
deal, I think.
copies of A Way Out.
Yeah, all you have to do is leave us some feedback or help spread the word about the podcast by retweeting the episode every week. Either of those things enters you in the drawing. So, first up, Zerby says Ezio was the guest character of Soul Calibur 5. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we said that.
I think we mentioned. I thought we
Someone said it
mentioned
in
it.
chat.
Yeah.
And Cosmos from Xenogear was in 3, but you
I
had
didn't
to
know
make
that
her
one.
in the character creator. Wait, that doesn't count.
That
You have to
doesn't
make
make
her
sense.
in a character
Yeah.
creator. So we were talking.
Wait, do they mean like you had all the options to make a character that looked like Cosmos, or are they saying that there was like
Was like the
a
outfit.
specific thing you could do, like how in XCOM you could put in like certain game developers' names and it would make like special hero characters that were those people?
I don't know.
Like,
Is,
I think you could do that with like Sid
I've
Meier,
never
for
been a
example.
big Soul Calibur fan.
Is Crispy's mic on?
I can reseat it just to see.
I might want to do that just in case. It looked kind of quiet, but I bet Brad knows the answer to that question, but he's not here this week. Drew327 says, when I was a kid, we were talking a lot about, was last week the Toys R Us thing? Oh, no, that was the week before. 'Cause we were reading feedback, whatever.
Yeah.
Drew327 says, when I was a kid, Nintendo sent me a promotional VHS tape for Diddy Kong Racing.
Wow.
As a stupid kid who never got any mail, that tape basically guaranteed my purchase of the game.
Fun fact: Diddy Kong Racing was the game I got when I got my N64. I think it might have been for Christmas. My mom got me right there. You can see it. That green N64, and it came with Diddy Kong Racing. That was my first N64 game.
That was
There
my
you go.
second or third, I think. I love Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong Racing is like I actually like that more than Mario Kart.
What?
Dude, Diddy Kong Racing was so fucking cool.
Dude, no, don't get me wrong. It was a good game, but those boss races were fucking bullshit. You had to hit every single boost in order to win.
That's true, but it had planes and it had the battle mode. The battle mode was fantastic in that game.
Mario Kart.
I know Mario Kart's got battle mode, but the maps and everything in Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing had Conker. It had fucking Banjo Kazooie.
Hell
Like
yeah,
holy
dude.
shit!
Yeah.
And it just
So
had, I
good.
think it just has so much more charm. So much more charm,
Could you imagine,
if you will.
if you will? So Mario Kart 8, it has some characters that aren't Mario characters.
Does it?
Yeah,
I actually haven't.
Link, I think, is a character in Mario
Yeah,
Kart 8.
it was a DLC character.
Yeah, DLC. Can they
Donkey
please?
Kong's always been a part of Mario.
Donkey Kong has always been, yeah. But could they please make a Smash Brothers version of like
Mario Kart?
a Mario Kart,
Like a racing game for
insane different like. But I almost want like fucking Cannonball Run, like just like crazy cars and stuff. Not just like the same carts. I want like completely. Obviously, they would kind of have to drive the same because it'd have to be kind of fair.
Yeah.
But like, I just want insane different stuff. Like, I want a fucking Mario Kart game where Link is riding a Pona. like that's his cart. That would be fucking awesome. Like shit like that.
I would like to see them mix
Are
up.
we talking about like a wacky racist thing?
Kind of, yeah. Wacky races, yeah.
They also have the Inklings now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a few non-Mario characters.
Do the Inklings ride squids?
No, but they all ride like basically the same thing.
But that's what I'm saying.
Just,
I don't like
kind
that.
I
I want it to go fucking crazy. I want like it just to be insane.
That'd be
I mean,
awesome.
if you're gonna do it, you don't
Especially-
put cart in the name, though.
Well, especially if you don't make it a kart racer, like
Yeah.
don't do like the rally racing or like the kind of track racing that the karts always do. Do like cross country rally racing,
Yeah.
that'd be
with a bunch
good.
of characters with combat mechanics.
oh, dude,
I think
like
I think it's
take
clear
take the road rage mode from Burnout and then make that be the basis of the game. I think it'd be great.
Nintendo, we're giving you fucking gold. Come on.
I mean, the genre,
Dude, could you imagine
the
money
genre
sitting
needs
on
some
the
work.
table.
like cross country, like you're going through like the Breath of the Wild lands and stuff like that.
shit.
Like that would be fucking awesome.
Dude. I really miss playing those games and like getting excited about those games. I haven't been
Right?
excited about that genre in a very long time. We kind of got off the whole point
Yeah,
of
we
like, the promotional tape thing, though. I don't know why I never experienced this. Why didn't they send me promotional
I never
VHS
got
tapes?
videos.
So I think you had to be a subscriber to Nintendo Power,
I was.
I was a subscriber
and
to
I
Nintendo
think it was
Power.
like a random chance.
Who wasn't a subscriber to
I don't know,
Nintendo
like
Power?
were they like yellow tapes? Because I kind of remember something about that.
So the
But I
Donkey,
thought it was Donkey Kong.
I think the
64.
Donkey Kong 64 one was yellow.
Yeah, it
That
was.
might be what I'm thinking of.
Man, it's kind of cool though. He also says, I think the answer to the best skill to have that you can't make money off of, which is a question we had last week, a Patreon question, I believe. It's cooking. You will always eat well as well as impress the ladies.
That's a really good one.
And that's Andrew from Seattle. Thank you guys for once again
nice.
remembering to let us know where you're from. I really appreciate that. We love Seattle. Seattle's great. We have a good friend in Seattle. And PAX. Fourth Horseman says, I love when a new Senran Kagura game comes out just to hear the impressions and reactions from the crew, i.e. Nolan. I can't remember if Nolan tried Senran Kagura Bon Appetit, the rhythm cooking game, but that was another game that differed from the versus type gameplay.
I remember
But still,
that.
we tried to weave a narrative.
That game, like, I never played it, but like just looking at footage of that game, it seems like cooking and rhythm take a backseat to just fucking TNA.
Wait, does it?
No, so I would argue that Senran Kagura Shinobi versus and Estival versus the gameplay is pretty fucking high up there.
Okay.
In terms of those games.
But like TNA is always a pretty big focus
Guys,
of them one way or another.
It's
Big
called
ass anime titties.
fan service.
I understand.
Not TNA.
Oh, sorry. Fan
That's
service.
true.
The respectable name.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for your feedback and comments. If you have anything that you want to chime in on tonight, we do have a lot of stuff to talk about. Anything you want to say about our conversations this evening, of course, head on over to 4playernetwork.com and leave us a comment on the post for this episode, and we'll read it next week.
Did you, just kind of an aside, thank you for your feedback. Did y'all see the trailer or whatever? I think I might have gotten a review code for it. But it's like a game where it's like a dating sim. Not dating sim. It's like a guy teaching you how to date or how to pick up girls.
Oh!
Super Seductor?
Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
Oh,
I got a code for that. And at first I
God.
looked at it and I was like, oh, this might be fun. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, ugh.
This is gross.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Crispy?
No, I have
It's like a
never heard
guy
of this.
who's literally like, it'll walk up to a girl.
It's
and
an
then,
FMV
Yeah,
game.
it's an FMV. And so he'll walk up to a girl and there'll be some
no.
options. And it'll be like, show me your tits. Or like, do you live her? Like all these like random things. And if you choose the wrong
Neg her.
one. Yeah. Neg her, yeah.
Whoa.
Neg. N-E-G.
Hey,
H-E-R.
that's a PUA term. So.
Yeah, that is.
Wait, what is that? But you
Neg-
know what? Maybe we
negging.
don't need to get into it.
Have you never heard of negging?
Negging?
Yes, it's where you negatively. It's you
You
talk down to a
compliment
woman.
her, but like in a negative way, to slowly erode her self-esteem,
Pretty much.
so that she doesn't believe that
She's worth anything?
A guy that's better than you.
Exactly.
Guys, I prefer learning terms about terrible, dirty things that.
But
that
anyway,
aren't-
so
It's
Crispy,
fucking
like
terrible.
you'll pick the wrong thing, and then it'll zoom into the guy sitting on a bed with like some half like naked women laying on the bed next to him, and he's like, you really shouldn't have said that.
So this
You should
sounds like
it's fucking.
it's
awkward.
a game. It sounds like a game made by like one of those like self-proclaimed pickup artists.
No, he's a pickup artist.
Yeah.
I know he's
That's what
slept
he
with
was.
so many women. So many women.
I will
Wait,
not be
who
playing that.
is the guy?
I forget his name.
Let's
He
not.
has like long hair and like a huge beard.
of course
and,
he
like,
does.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Let's
Yeah.
not.
He's definitely not American based
Didn't-
on his
is
accent.
he
Wasn't that
Australian?
originally going to come out on PS4 and they pulled it?
Maybe I wouldn't. Be
Yeah, no,
surprised.
I've
think
seen
that was
it-
the story.
I've seen it in
PS4
the
was like
news
pull
lately.
out. Like they hit the abort button.
I've definitely seen it in the headlines lately, and I don't think it's getting a lot of positive buzz. So let's just not. And say we didn't.
I kind of wanted to play it just for the lulls. I mean, obviously, I don't need it. I have no problem picking up women. But
you have no problem because you're married.
Exactly, I can pick up a lady.
You don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah. Chris Davis, you still need a romance.
Are you looking for a side chick? Is that what
There's a
you're
difference
saying?
between looking for a side chick and still like not letting the romance in your relationship die. So
I think that's also a totally different thing from what this.
I mean,
game's
sometimes
trying
I
to
walk
do.
up to Brennan and I'm like, "Hey, show me your tits," and sometimes it works. And sometimes she's like, "You're a pig," and
works.
then
You're about to get a text message.
Oh, God.
I don't know. If hopefully she's working at a hospital.
Hey, before we get too far into the show,
pays for all this.
before we get too far, before we start delving into video games, any I've seen a movie this weekend. Anybody have any films they've seen? We saw Annihilation. Crispy and I.
I remember what I did this
Nicholas
weekend.
and I went on a lovely date.
Thanks for the invite, bitches.
Annihilation.
I didn't know. I've been talking about going to see Annihilation for weeks, and
You didn't
never said
tell me.
anything.
You didn't tell me.
You didn't tell me.
Oh my God! Why does every time this come up?
Do you
it has
hate
to
this
turn into
couch? Is that it?
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Dude, that's all. Like, I'm lucky I got an invite, so I mean.
Oh yeah.
All right, fine. Fucking forget I brought it up. Jesus.
What the fuck did I do this past weekend?
I don't know. I forgot.
I know. So I pulled all the weeds in my backyard. That's one thing that sucks about having a dog, is I can't just go back there and spray a bunch of weed killer. Because he likes to chew on grass and like walk in it and shit. So I can't just spray it. So I had to literally on Saturday I was like picking individual weeds. Just like
Yeah, it sounds awful.
the thing that sucks about my house, pro and con, is I'm on the corner. And so there's an empty lot next to me, and all the fucking weeds that grow in there just creep under my fence into my yard. So I was thinking about just getting some like just killer and just fucking spraying it over the fence and just fucking killing everything.
Oh,
It'll eventually grow back, though.
man.
They'll grow back eventually, but hopefully it'll slow things down.
I think one of my least favorite parts about owning a home at this point is having a backyard, even though my backyard is small.
Yours is like minimal.
No, I mean, like, I have a huge oak tree in my backyard.
Yeah, that's
it does
true.
nothing but rain leaves down.
It's more like an extended back porch.
Yes,
really.
but with a I think you're not grasping the huge oak tree part where it's nothing but leaves all the time.
I know.
I did watch as part of Burnett and I's going through all of the Marvel movies. We just watched Doctor Strange this past weekend.
Love that movie.
Getting pretty caught up.
It is just as good as I remember it being. I still to this day regret not seeing it in 3D. I really fucking wish I would have.
That stuff was cool.
But we only have technically 3 more movies.
I am behind the 8-ball on that. I'm still on Iron Man 3. I haven't started it yet. Haven't even really started Phase 2, really.
We kind of glossed over it, but for those wondering, Annihilation was pretty good.
Yeah,
good.
Annihilation was
Can't
pretty
really
good.
talk about it.
The thing is, so
it's really good.
I was in a kind of a toss up a couple of weeks ago. I was either going to see that or Game Night. And I ended up seeing Game Night just because I wasn't in the mood for Annihilation. I talked to a coworker who had seen it, and she was saying that it was very similar to his previous film, Ex Machina.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I fucking love Ex Machina. That is a great movie, but I wasn't in the mood to see a movie like that. I wanted more of a ha-ha-ha laughy
This
comedy
is definitely
film.
not a ha-ha-ha laughy
I know.
movie.
And I got that out of Game Night, and I will
But
definitely recommend that.
I will say the one thing I can say about Annihilation is that it does a really good job of it. It gives me like that really it captures this like really interesting tone and feel like throughout the like it's super tense the entire time. And it some of my favorite sci-fi movie like more recent sci-fi movies have kind of done the same thing where it's like it always has this like really ominous feel to it while you're watching it. Like Arrival kind of did the same thing. Maybe this does it more, I think, but it's a really cool, like I was on the edge of my seat kind of the entire time while watching it. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. I think it was pretty damn good. Also very creepy at times.
I do. Ready Player One comes out tomorrow.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Yeah, tomorrow. I do want to see it. I did read the book. I did to an extent. I will admit that the writing is not amazing, but it did get me right in the nostalgias.
I mean, that's the purpose of it.
I know. I completely understand, dude. As soon as they said he flew in and his ship was the Bebop, I fucking lost it. I was like, oh god, I fucking love the Bebop. Dude, I know, Crispy. I know there's issues. I know. Chris, trust me. I know.
Dude, the paragraph where he's describing his car.
Yeah, I know.
Is like
it's bad. It's bad. I know.
It's everything I hate about you.
I know. He's just going through a list of nostalgic things and jerking himself off. Trust me, I understand. But I do want to see the film, mainly because it's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I've only seen one Steven Spielberg film I did not like.
Which one was that?
AI.
Lincoln. Oh.
It was alright.
No, Lincoln was good. I was making a joke.
Has anyone seen Isle of Dogs yet?
No, I haven't.
Dude, I really want to fuck it. My coworker
My
saw
boss
that.
did. He said it was amazing.
I did watch what is that YouTube series? Honest Trailers. They did one for every Wes Anderson film, and it was pretty fucking spot on. Just how similar they all are, but it doesn't matter because they're also goddamn delightful. And so I really want to see Isle of Dogs too. So I haven't seen that.
The next one on my list, the next movie I'm going to the theater to see will be A Quiet Place, for sure.
Which one's that one?
The one
That's
with,
the horror movie with
yeah.
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski.
Oh,
and
yeah,
directed by John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
I-
with isn't Emily Blunt in it too?
Yeah, Emily
they're
Blunt.
married.
Yep.
And
And
they're
there's
got
no dialogue.
quiet.
The whole movie apparently is just
There was
silent.
dialogue.
There's
In the
dialogue.
trailer,
in
there
the,
was
in the trailer,
dialogue.
there's dialogue.
I mean, there's very, very, very minimal dialogue.
we should do a podcast like that.
No.
You gotta be quiet. They're gonna get you. Hey Nolan. Every time you talk over 10 decibels, I'm gonna punch you in the dick. Hey Nolan.
And then you yell.
Hey Nolan,
What's up?
Sphinx.
Thanks.
I'm gonna be doing that all night. I'm so sorry. We ready? Let's get to it.
Yeah, dude, we got a fucking lot of videos.
There
to
are
talk about
so many fucking video games to talk about.
today. Yep.
I kind of want to get one out of the way that we didn't that was new last week that we didn't have a chance to talk about.
Sure, do it. You played it on Sunday.
Played it on Sunday.
How was that? I kind of watched some of it.
Sea of Thieves.
I jumped in when you and Crispy, your ship was flooding.
That happens.
The deck. What is it called?
The poop deck? No.
Not the poop deck. That's the top. What is
By the way,
what is the hull? What
let
is
me
it?
preface this with I am terrible at remembering.
I was listening.
The names
I was listening to people talk about like terms. They're like on the left, and Crispy was like port or like something like that. Like Crispy would just yell out the actual correct nautical term.
I feel like this game
Nick,
is full of people playing
there's like-
cooperatively, and like nobody really knows the parts
Nick,
of the ship,
there's
but
like
they all pretend like
10
they do.
nautical terms you need to learn. That's it.
I know,
There's
but
not that many.
But I've never taken the time.
I
to
know,
just
not
learn
even.
them.
I mean, you got the bow, you got the stern, you got port, you got starboard.
Oh, I know the names. I just can't remember which one's which.
What is aft, Nick?
Behind us?
Same as Stern.
Not quite. Aft is technically not the same as stern. It's just behind.
Which one's stern?
Kind of like behind wherever.
Stern is the ship. Aft is behind the ship.
Aft is kind of like behind wherever something is. Like,
So I was right.
kind of, yeah. But yeah, there's not that many. There's not that many turns. But anyway, I kind of tuned in as y'all were kind of bucketing out the bottom of the ship, and then I think y'all found like a shipwreck y'all were going towards, and
yeah, okay, so-
Nick was talking about picking up planks and stuff.
I don't know how much y'all have heard about this game, and Okay. Sea of Thieves, I had fun. I had a good time. We had community members join us. It took a while to get everything going.
Mm-hmm.
But once we finally did, we had some fun. Wait, what?
Where's the footage?
I may or may not have actually plugged it in.
Oh.
'cause
What?
I was too busy building the other things.
Oh my god.
Do we just not have it, or is it not queued up?
Well, how about you give me a minute and I'll fix it.
Just go get it. Just
Okay.
go get it. We'll
Why
stall.
did I even bother?
Why did you even
right.
capture footage?
Let me just keep talking, and we'll get the footage up in a second. We'll get the footage up in a second.
Well, hold on. What, instead of we can just talk about Venture Brothers in the meantime.
That's true.
We could.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Please don't.
Dude, Shore Leave is one of the best
Shore Leave,
characters.
and but I liked it when he like went all like fundamentalist Christian and called himself Holy
right.
Diver.
Holy Diver.
Holy Diver. So good.
All right, sorry, Nick. We don't have to talk about it. We can talk about Sea of Thieves if you want.
This podcast is ruined.
No, I'm sure at this point, honestly, Chris Davis in the YouTube video has already started playing Sea of Thieves footage.
That's true.
I'll do it right.
That's true. Okay.
Apparently, he's gonna do us right.
Let me just. There's actually a lot to kind of unpack here, so I'm gonna just kind of get started.
Sure.
Played it on Sunday. First of all, kind of strange. You can only have 4 people on your crew, right? Mm-hmm. So I was playing with community members, or more appropriately, supporters on Patreon. Were playing with me on Sunday, and once we finally got through all the shit and kind of got into the game, I had some fun. But from the moment I booted this game up and was setting up my crew and getting even the parts where before you even get into the world and you're on a ship, right? Something about this game feels really off.
Interesting.
And then it just kind of, once I get into the game itself, things started to feel weirder and weirder and weirder as it went on. this game isn't finished. It is so. This is the most. It's a $60 product, and it's going to come up in the news later for something that kind of blows my mind still to this day. This is the most blatantly incomplete game I think I've ever played in my life.
So I know,
That
like,
is a
so hold on.
crazy statement.
So hold on.
This game just
That is
not
crazy.
Calm down. So we first saw it at E3 this year or last year? Last year.
It's been
Yeah, 2017. 2017 is when we saw it. And so Nick and I were in the Microsoft conference, and that's when they showed it.
Yep.
And I was like, this game looks like it has potential. That's what
Certainly
I said.
looks like it has potential, and it's got a
And
cool
so
art
they
style.
showed it was on the show floor, and I didn't want to wait in line, so I just kind of stood behind some people and watched it. And I was like, they're not doing anything. And so that was my big worry about this game, was it's going to be a big open world where you can sail on a ship, and you can, people can control the sails, and someone can steer and all this stuff.
It is kind of building off of the appeal what everyone loved about
Black Flag.
Black Flag. Yeah.
Sure. And that's fine.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
But giving it like a cartoony feel.
But here's the thing, Nick. Besides the sailing in Black Flag, there was something called, I don't know if I'm quoting this correctly, gameplay. And how do you I don't know, am I pronouncing this correct? A story? Is that how you say it?
Please stop. My eyes can't roll up into my skull anymore.
Okay. And so hold on.
Oh,
Before this game even came out, I was just like, what is it? I was like, who developed this game? I forget.
You would ask me. Oh, Rare. It's
Rare. Sorry, Rare. I was like, hey, Rare, what is it? And they're like, well, you can. There's a pirate ship, and you're on it, and there's some skeletons you can shoot. And I was like, okay, but what is it? And they're like, well, open seas and ships. And that was my biggest fear, was that this game was going to be a shit ton of nothing.
All right.
And what is the game?
Okay. It's nothing. But they're really leaning hard, and they're like, this game really is about working cooperatively with your crew.
That's fine.
Sailing a ship, which
Sure.
is fun. Fun things happen. But like, I knew something was up as soon as I booted the game up, and like, I get to a part where it's supposed to be a character creator, right? You
Yeah.
don't create a character. It randomly shuffles and creates about 8 different pirates, and you can pick one of those.
That's kind
it.
of silly.
You actually like the kind of driving force of the game is to collect stuff and do quests, collect money, and use that to buy what essentially amounts to cosmetic upgrades for your character.
Sure.
All kinds of stuff. One of the guys we were playing with wanted to like he was trying to save up money to cut off his hand so he can have like a hook on his hand.
That's
right?
kind of awesome.
That's kind of awesome, except it doesn't give you any, like, none of that stuff feeds back into the game
Sure.
at all. There is none of those features roll back into the game and improve the gameplay. The gameplay loop in and of itself never seems to change. There are only 3 different types of missions you can do in the game, and it just, that seems like such a huge missed opportunity. Not to mention, like, they're all the same. You can either go, like, literally one of the mission types is fight skeletons. That is a mission type.
Nice.
You go to an island, you find skeletons, you fight them until the captain shows up, and it's just like a stronger skeleton. You fight that till it dies. It drops a skull. You collect that skull. You take it back to the outpost island. You sell that for money. You buy cosmetic stuff.
Wow.
Not to mention, the cosmetic shit costs a lot.
Can you upgrade your
money.
ship?
You can eventually upgrade your ship, right? But it costs so much money to upgrade your ship. I will never get to the point where,
So
personally, I will never play this game.
Couple of questions, because I've yet to even like play this game at all. I literally have never held a controller and played this game. Just putting that out there. Is this online? Like, I know you're playing with other. Are there other people in the world besides you?
Yes.
Okay.
You're playing on a server that has. Someone told me it's like maybe 20 other players in the world or something.
Okay, sure.
And you could
So
maybe never see them.
Six teams essentially, since 6 groups of people.
That's a
Wait, you
guesstimate,
can never see them?
No. You may never see. Like,
you may.
You could potentially travel around and never run into them. Like,
you could explore the planet, but there's so many possibilities. You'll never run into someone.
I played for 4 hours and we only came across
So
you guys are the reason why gaming sucks.
Wait,
Like
what?
why things don't like
Crispy,
progress, because
are
every
you
time someone
kidding me?
tries something new,
hold on.
this is the reaction
Hold
that's
on,
met.
killer.
No, that's
Hold
not-
on.
Hang on. Let me just say something.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, the game is pretty empty right now.
Sure.
But we're still operating in this mentality where the game is released, you pay money for it, that's it. That's the end of the discussion, right? I really think that there is a space in gaming for continual development games.
I think
I
I think any game that is released,
some of these games come out where like you just have to get it out in the wild and see what happens and see what people do with it before you continue to develop.
Hold on, I will
And
say
that's fine.
that any
You're
game
gonna
that
say that it's probably a bad move for them to charge $60 for it, but I mean, it's not like they didn't give you a way to
It's
play the
more
game
of
for
a-
free.
Hold on,
It's-
Crispy.
first of all.
Hold on. I will say that
Second
any
of
game
all-
that goes gold and development stops, that developer is ignorant. That's one thing I will say. Well, just because a game ships and has gone quote gold does not mean development stops at all. You should always, to an extent, while there are people in large amounts still playing your game, there's no reason for you to not be maybe producing more content for them.
I think
as long as you
all
are
I'm-
making money off of them, you should still be trying to improve your product.
The only
in
thing
my
I'm,
opinion.
the only point I'm trying to make here is that I think the way they presented this is a bit misleading.
Okay.
Because
How?
there is nothing about this game that implied that like this is in the state that it's in. This game is.
There's nothing about this game that implied there was something bigger going on than there is.
So that's what I knew going into it, and that's why I didn't pick it up. Well, hold on, Chrissy. What was your second point?
Look, my general gist here is that like this is a non-traditional kind of game. Yes, it's like No Man's Sky. It's kind of something new, something that's not a point A to B goal check sort of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the classic kind of game that we're used to. That's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. But don't try to shove it into a box that it doesn't belong in. I mean, I really remember a couple weeks ago I said my sweat was for this game, and this conversation that we're having right now is exactly what I was talking about. Not for the game itself, for this reaction. In that
Hey, that's how I
it's
feel
gonna
every time
come
I
out.
get to talk about something like Assassin's
Yeah,
Creed.
but
or
I
Far
mean, you're
Cry.
going up to bat for shit that's like the opposite of this. For shit that is like playing it safe. For shit that's staying in its lane. I'm trying to bring that same kind of defense and exuberance to something that is different. To something that could become something bigger than it is right now. And it's not going to get there if we're going to be shitty little bastards about it.
I'm not trying to be a shitty little bastard.
When I started having this conversation, Nolan may have gotten a little sarcastic
Dude,
about it, but
yeah.
I was trying to present it in such a way that I was like, I understand the appeal of the game. There is potential here.
Dude, I want
I'm
this
just
game to be
saying-
great. Dude, this game conceptually sounds amazing to me.
What I'm saying
Like
is...
a multiplayer pirate game, I would love that shit if there were. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've never played a fucking second of this game.
I would like someone to correct me, because Riceball in chat is saying right now that I was wrong with the character selection. I played this game for 4 or 5 hours. My game crashed me 3 times, and I had to reselect a character 3 times. So I would like someone to correct me as to why I was wrong with the character selection.
Hold on.
It randomly generates characters. You pick a character, you go into the game with that character, and then you buy cosmetic items for it.
So hold on. So
You
what?
can randomly generate characters, but you are never like picking. You are never like picking a you know, a face and clothes and everything. Like it's not a traditional character creation.
So hold on. So let me say something. I wanted this game to be great.
You don't like. I mean, there's plenty of games where you don't have any choice about your.
And that's fine. Hold on. So
I
hold on.
don't understand why
When-
that's a ding against this specific game.
When Nick and I first saw this, I was excited for it. I wanted a multiplayer, essentially Black Flag sailing. So I wanted naval combat. I wanted to be interacting with other people. I wanted, and this is something we talked about, I think even in that E3 podcast, that I was like, I want to be able to randomly come across an island, and there happens to be treasure on that, and I find that treasure, and we need to get it back to some sort of base, but people might be waiting in the fucking fog to come out and attack us, lay traps for us. That's what I wanted out of this game, but it doesn't seem like that's much of what it is. And
But what I'm saying is, like, if this is the discourse around the game, if this is like the legacy that the game's gonna have, there's no incentive to continue development on it, and
That's
there's
not at all
there's
what I
no point, there's no assuming that it's gonna get there. And I think, look, this is obviously an early access game, and I think a lot of people, I think early access is a fucking like taboo word.
That's not unfair.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's my whole complaint, is that this game is basically early access, but it is not pitched
It
that
was
way.
not marketed as
It is
being
not
an early
marketed
access
that way
game.
in any way, shape, or form. People are spending $60 on this thinking they're getting a complete game, not one that's not still undergoing development, but this game, like, this to me feels like something that's like entering early access that still is like maybe a good, like maybe the first time you popped in Subnautica 2 years ago and realized, okay, this is like a really good concept, but like
How
it's not
many
ready
people
yet.
do you think paid full price for this game? I mean, people have been pretty
we gonna
widely
talk about that in the
advertising
news?
the whole Game Pass thing and like the free trial.
Yeah.
Like you can play the game for 2 weeks for free right now. Anybody can go do that.
I know, that's
and
exactly-
I bet most people have done that.
Yeah,
So I mean,
did it.
acting like this is some kind of huge fucking scam designed to trap people because they didn't put a big early access banner.
Dude, you're
on it.
also first of all, I've played more of this game than anyone on this couch. Second of all, I haven't even talked about half the shit I wanted to talk about with the game, and I wasn't trying to go into this being openly negative about it. There's potential here, but I was shocked by just how basic this fucking game is.
I don't.
Those three
get
mission
why,
types that
but
you
okay.
played it for an hour. Those 3 missions that you did.
I get that. I played enough of the game to get as much out of it as you have because
I mean,
there's not much there to get out of it.
There is
I get
nothing.
that.
There is nothing
I
else to
fucking
get
get
out of
that.
it.
But
The
I
rest,
understand.
the rest of the fun of the game comes from sailing around
I
the
don't
ocean.
understand why you're so gobsmacked by the state of this game, though. Like, that's not surprising at all.
I mean, they never
That
advertised it
is
to be
not-
anything more than it already is right now.
There's been nothing that has come out that's been like. I mean, even No Man's Sky was worse about that. No Man's Sky had like 3 years to hype up all the shit that they said was going to be in the game that isn't in the game.
I feel like there was
No
way
Man's
more.
Sky-
There
I
was
mean-
way more to No Man's Sky when that game came out. than this.
Crispy, hold on.
Sure,
So
maybe.
what I
But-
will
but
say,
I don't think
hold-
that.
hold-
I don't know that matters.
Hold on, let's take.
If it's still products in development, so because this didn't hit the same metric that No Man's Sky, that's a weird argument.
Let's
I
hold
don't
on.
get
Let's
that.
take a step
But
back. Hold on.
I just don't know why I'm being attacked.
Hold
When I
on.
haven't even finished
Nick,
what I'm saying.
You both we're vibing on the same point. I'm offering a contrary.
Dude, hold
opinion.
on. I'm shitting on the game, but my thing is, and to Nick's point, when the more they talked about this game, the more it seemed like they were talking about a quote, and I don't want to say like a complete game. Generally, when I see games that come out on PC or whatever, they are quote in early access. They're still in development, but we're going to give you a chance to play it because A, it gives us a chance to make some money, so we can keep working on the game. B, it gives us a chance to get like literal QA. It gives us a chance to find bugs and fix things to make the experience better. My problem is, with this game is I don't want to say it was marketed like it had 1,000 things in it. I understand that everything they showed only showed those 3 different things. But when you tell me, hey, give me $60, I know there's a 2-week free thing, but give me like $60 and I'm going to give you a game, I to an extent expect that game to be complete.
Did you give them $60?
No, I didn't.
Dude,
I didn't pick up
So
this
then
game.
I don't
here's-
understand what you're complaining about.
There's nothing wrong with me complaining about the status of the content that's
There
in a
is-
game.
Look, all I'm saying is that this is exactly the kind of game that we are ill-equipped to talk about because of the way we, the people sitting on this couch, play games. In that we're always keeping up with the new thing that comes out, and then we're on to the next thing because we're talking about it on a podcast. This is the kind of game that like needs to just kind of be for a year or two before anything really comes out of it. You guys didn't go back and play No Man's Sky after all the updates. You guys probably aren't going to go back and play it after the new big
I don't have
update coming
time.
out. So I mean, like, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not seeing it after it's developed.
I didn't
after
even
it's
get to
kinda like,
talk about the things that I like about the game because everyone
please
jumped
do.
down my fucking
Go
throat.
ahead.
I don't
No,
even
we
want
didn't.
to now.
We did. We're having a discussion about it. Let's not get. Let's not
It's
get
too late
shitty
for
about it.
that.
Let me ask this question, okay? Hopefully we can get back on track with this. Have they announced like a roadmap of where this game's going to go?
I don't know.
Not.
No, to
that
my
I'm aware
knowledge,
of.
they
Okay.
have not.
I mean, they're actively working on it. I'm just saying the groundwork that's in this game, like the actual
The core concepts of this game
the
sound
loop,
amazing to me.
The gameplay loop, the thing that's supposed to be there for you to do to progress, I think is super fucking hollow. The stuff that is really cool design wise is the stuff that comes into play when you were on a ship. You were working cooperatively to steer that ship and kind of going out there to explore the world. But the fact is, I explored that world for about 4 hours with a crew of 4 people, and I did the same fucking mission 3 or 4 times, literally, and I don't think I ever saw And like we would go to an island, it's like, oh cool, this is a bigger island. Looks like there's probably stuff to find on here. We jump off the ship, we fight some skeletons, and I was like, I'm gonna go explore the island. And by the time I went to start exploring the island, they had gotten the thing they came for, the skull from the captain, and everyone was running back to the ship, like time to go to the next island. And I was like, wait, what about the island? We're not gonna sit here and explore the island? And nobody wanted to because there's nothing to find on the islands. They're just places for people for them to throw down a bunch of skeletons to fight, or to find a treasure chest, which they can, they give you a hint as to where the treasure chest is. You go to the island, you find the treasure chest, and then you leave the island because you've done everything that you need to do on that island. And then eventually, when you have enough stuff, it becomes exciting because other people in the world can spot you, can try and jump onto your ship and steal your loot. That's where and it's all about getting the loot and then getting back to the outpost to sell it and get some fucking money.
Okay.
And that is the loop. And the most interesting things about this game, I think, are how you cooperatively work with your crew to steer the ship. You have an actual table with a giant map of the world. You all have to go down into first of all, you all have to vote on which mission you want to do. So
Dude, that sounds cool to me.
And that's pretty cool, but all the missions are kind of the same, and not to mention the way they're kind of summarized is very not interesting. It doesn't sound interesting, so I was kind of like, I don't fucking this one, I guess. I'll just pick one at random. Like none of these sound particularly interesting.
What can you give me like a description of what they might be, or like a sample?
It's like because
I haven't played this game at all.
They're not memorable. I'm trying to remember how like. It gives you a title, and then it says something. It'll drop the name of an island.
I can't get the first play.
You essentially pick which type of mission you're going to do, whether you're going to go find treasure, fight some skeletons, and I think the other one is... I don't even know what the other one was.
You can like deliver letters or cargo to people. You can...
Yeah, and then it kind of, in the description, it kind of mentions the name of an island. So then you have to go down into the hull of the ship, and you have a giant table with an interactive map on it. And you have to scroll through and find the map, and then you go up, and everyone kind of takes positions. That someone has to raise the anchor, someone has to steer the ship, someone has to maneuver the sails, someone needs to get in the crow's nest to keep an eye out for rocks, because the person steering the ship often can't see past the sails.
Yeah, I like that.
All that stuff is really cool, but the obstacles that they throw at you are very repetitive. It's rocks that you can potentially crash into, or islands, and other people on ships. And
yeah,
I played the game for 4 hours. I ran into two people, two ships. There are cool moments that come from that. Like one of the other members on our team, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Mr. Green Toast. I don't remember. Actually, we were being chased by a ship, and his idea was to jump off our ship, swim back to them, board their ship. Well, they didn't even realize he was coming. Boarded their ship. He managed to kill all 4 of them.
That sounds awesome.
And to prevent them from
stealing your cargo.
No, you can actually sneak onto their ship and you can drop their anchor.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. I like that.
Which is cool. But also, the combat in this game is not fun.
Yeah.
It is not fun. You swing a sword. The feedback on it, I think, does not feel good. I mean, I'm sure it's all stuff that's going to improve over time. I'm just saying, the state it's in right now.
So hold on. Let's take a step back. I know like White Burrow in chat seems to be very much defending this game. I guess he's probably played a lot.
I don't know why White Burrow's getting.
Well, hold on. Anybody because I'm sure he enjoys the game. If you enjoy something and you hear someone like I don't want to say shitting on it, but talking negatively about it, I could see how you might take offense to that because you enjoy it. Well, hold on. So my thing is, like I said, I haven't played this game, but I'm coming at it from I'm a developer. That's literally my job. That's what I do. And I'm literally in a position right now at work where my boss is telling me, you need to get this out. And I'm saying, it's not ready. I don't want someone to use this thing that my name is on because I would be embarrassed. In my opinion, it's not ready. And I understand it's a different scenario. My thing is an internal tool that other people that I work with are going to use. It's different from selling something to people. And so in my opinion, the reason I'm negative on this game is because it wasn't touted as an early access game. It was touted as a full release. That's what I got out of it. I haven't played it, but all of the advertising I've seen, all of the every email I've gotten from like Xbox about this game has been like, "Oh my god, this game is the best thing in the world." And obviously, anyone's going to talk about a game that they develop like that. But to me, it seems like this game should have much more content in it than it does on day one. I'm fine with someone releasing a game and being like, "Hey, It's an early access. Letting you know if you get it now, it's not complete. Same thing with me and Subnautica. Like when I first bought that game, I knew it was an early access. I knew it wasn't complete. I just wanted to check it out. I had a great time playing it, and so I said, you know what? I'm going to put it down for now. I'm going to let them finish developing it. And when it goes gold, when it goes full release, and they're like, hey, we're, quote, done. We're still working on it, but we're calling it done. Then I played it. And you know what? I had a fucking great time playing it. That's my problem with...
Something like No Man's Sky could have benefited from just a little bit more transparency about the state of the game. Although the situation there might have been a little bit different because maybe they didn't expect the reaction they were going to get. I don't know. But, like, I'm just saying, I played this game for about 4 or 5 hours, and I admit, I did the Game Pass thing. I downloaded the game for free. There is nothing about my time with the game so far that makes me want to pick it up again and keep my Game Pass subscription to keep playing this. Mm-hmm. That is obviously, like you said, Crispy, we're a little bit different situation. We're always playing different things, always trying to keep up with the new thing. But, like, this is a really cool concept, a really cool idea, and I feel like it maybe should have been in a better state. It could have convinced me to stick with it and maybe play it more.
I really think this is just the state of the world now. And the longer we keep banging our head against it, the more this is going to keep happening.
So I mean, it's not like it doesn't really matter because like we're going to talk about it in the news, but this has been the most successful new IP for Microsoft this generation. Like that is.
I mean, it didn't have a lot to compete with.
So hold on, Crispy. To that regard, I agree with you that it's the state of the time. It's what it is. Everyone. It's so easy for someone to make a game nowadays. And so everyone is. There are hundreds of games coming out a month. There are so many games that, and especially, like you said, in our position, we kind of don't, and don't get me wrong, it's one of the things I hate about our podcast, is that I can't always play the games I want to play. I can't. I get shit from people. Like, why are you fucking still playing that game, man? Like, come on, play the next thing. I don't want to fucking hear you talk about that. But, like, to an extent, I can't play the things I want to play because I have to keep playing new games so we can have a new opinion on stuff. And it kind of sucks that a lot of what we talk about is based on a very short time spent with a game. But to that extent, sell your fucking game, man. Like, if you want someone to like your game, it better be fucking great in the first couple of hours. Like, you better, like, when you want someone to buy a game, when you want someone to like, think the world of your game, you better fucking sell it hard. You better, like, when someone picks up that game, don't just, like, that's one of my biggest problems with some RPGs now. Like, some of the RPGs I play, they start so fucking slow. And I'm like, why am I playing this? Like, it's not, like just fucking go hard. Like, start the game out right so that I'm excited for it. And I'm not saying every game has to be that way. But that's...
I mean, you kind of are.
I'm not every game. It depends on the content of the game, and it depends on the people. And like you said, we aren't necessarily the core audience that developers are going for. Just because that we pick up games and we play them for, I need to see credits roll or whatever. It's not going to be my game of the year. Fuck it, I'm putting it down. And so I understand that there are people out there who will spend 100 hours with this game, and it might be their game of the year, and that's fine. But I mean, like, what am I supposed to do? I can't go and spend 30 hours on a game that might be good?
Well, good thing you didn't then. I'm just saying, like, listen. What Nick is saying is absolutely correct. As far as the game as it exists right now. I don't even particularly have much interest in going back and playing it right now. I'm not, like, pining for it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to cancel my free trial to the Game Pass because, I don't want to spend the money. It's not worth it to me right now. However, I fucking knew that this was going to be a conversation about what the game is right now, and that was going to be the last word on it. And this is not a game that lends itself well to that kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. I really think that we're cheating, that if we just make this opinion right now, our final opinion on this game...
But I'm not saying it's my final opinion.
Okay, fine. But, I mean, we weren't really, like... that wasn't really the tone that this whole thing started with.
This
let me just get through what I'm saying, okay? Let me just get through what I'm saying. Okay? This game is really rough right now. It is the skeleton of something that could be really great in the future. I acknowledge that the controls aren't very good. I think I would rather play this on PC than on controller. I don't have a lot of fun playing it on controller. I think there should be more things to do in the game. I think there should be more of a sense of progression. I think there should be more of a sense of customization. But I don't think customization should be the only thing that's in the game. I agree with all of that, except all of it to be true. But I also think that the developers will put it in a state more closely resembling what I think it should be in the future. And I feel like this game needs defenders to keep it alive long enough to get there. Because if this is the only discourse around it, it's not going to get there.
But like,
then we will have been cheated of an experience. And if we're talking about marketing, there is a right and a wrong way to do marketing. We will talk more about that later with another game. I don't think that this game really mismarketed itself as anything. This game never promised anything that isn't already in the game.
Literally, yeah, it was promising exactly
Most
what
of
they
the
were
trailer
showing.
footage I remember is like pirates dancing around and eating bananas, which, guess what? There's a lot of pirates dancing around and eating bananas.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not like No Man's
I don't
Sky where
think-
they promise a lot of content, they show a lot of content, and then suddenly you can't find that content.
I don't think this is the game to be putting on that poster. You
I
know?
also, when this conversation started, I fully intended to kind of brush past what I interpreted as negatives, so I could kind of focus on the things that I did like about it.
I mean, I think
This kind of spiraled into something I was not expecting.
I think you have to think of this game as not a standalone release, but like a game as a service.
Sure, but
That's going
That's
to
exactly what it is.
It's going to get the support eventually.
honestly, the
They're
biggest
just
problem
not
I had,
talking
the
about
biggest problem I had with this game, like the most just like the fucking writing on the wall problem I had with this game was when I walked up to accept a mission and I realized every fucking mission, the 3 mission types were the most basic. I mean, I'm sorry, they're boring.
Yeah.
They're boring, and I did the same thing.
We get it.
4 or 5
They're
times.
boring, and there's nothing in the game. We know. I know. I
But,
played
like-
the game. I completely like.
the
I'm
core-
taking a different stance from you, and I agree to that. Like, we get it.
What's concerning about that though is not that they're gonna keep working on it, but like the way the game is, like the way the world is designed, like I'm not seeing what exactly they're gonna do to those basic mission types to make them more interesting.
I don't know.
Because the islands are so small.
You're
But-
supposing
but, you
that
know, at the same time, we're not developers.
I know.
Well, no. So
Yeah,
that, and
you're
that's the other
supposing a
thing,
lot
Nick.
here.
As a developer, they can change that. They can completely
No, I know,
do a
I know.
360 and change things.
I'm
But-
also a developer, and you can change
I know.
things. It's just like I don't. It's not that I don't get that. It's I don't even know why we're still talking about this.
I mean,
Because it's a new game that just
they can
came out.
expand
Yeah, but
the map.
apparently-
They could
I
add new
don't know.
modes.
No, I mean, this is a conversation worth having. I feel like yeah, okay, maybe we got a little bent out of shape, but this.
I
is,
wanted to
this
focus
is,
on the things that happened to me on when I was playing that were really
Nick, you
fucking
can-
cool.
you can still
like
talk
blasting
about it.
yourself
We can
out of
still talk
cannons onto ships,
enemy
and
ships?
You can blast yourself
That's
out of a
cool.
cannon.
There's a lot of really charming, like nice little touches in this game, like the cannons, like all the emotes, like the interactivity with things in the environment. Like I just love standing up on the crow's nest and ringing the bell when I see land. You know? It's great.
People can track your ship in the distance if you have your lanterns on.
Yeah,
That's
you have
cool.
to turn
which is
those
pretty
off.
cool.
But the larger discussion around this game, I think, is very emblematic of a change that we've been seeing in games for a decade now that isn't going to go away. That is only going to kind of become more pervasive. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a conversation worth having over whether or not, you know, this is a relevant, valid form of development. I think it is. I think there are definitely precautions and safeguards that developers who choose to go this route must take, especially with advertising and pricing. Nick, I don't think that this game is even close to the most egregious offender of that, though.
Maybe not. Yeah.
And I think it's very important that we keep perspective on how this game was advertised, because again, this conversation will come back later with another game that kind of abused its advertising. I don't think this game did that, and I think it's okay for us to be honest about that. I think it's okay for our opinion, for our consensus to just be like, the game is kind of cute, but there's not really much going on. Hope it gets better in a year or two.
yeah.
The things I didn't really get to mention that also kind of just, you know, these are the kind of little.
Let's end on a positive
I know.
note.
I'm just,
No, Nick, go through.
just-
Go.
I
What
didn't
are
get
some of
to-
the stuff you
some of
liked
the things
about it?
that I mean, I talked about the things that I thought this was gonna be like a short 10-minute conversation where I was gonna say it feels kind of unfinished.
this is
it feels kind of like
big
bare
subject.
bones, but like the crew interactions were really fun. Playing co-op made me completely, in a lot of ways, forgive maybe the bit more bare bones design of the game.
And honestly, co-op was something I was most excited for because
that stuff's fun.
I fucking love co-op.
I had a great
games.
time playing with the community.
Did
with
you
this
lock
game.
anybody in the brig?
Yes, we
Did
had
you
to.
proceed to get drunk and then barf on them?
And then
No,
sink
they
the ship.
barfed all over me while I was trying to steer the ship, and I couldn't see shit because I was covered in
We
vomit.
normally can't see shit anyway because of the sails, but
Could you take enemies captive?
No.
Dude, that'd be
Well,
awesome.
no, maybe.
you can.
So
I
you
don't
can
see- I-
you
No,
can vote people into the
vote
brig.
people on your crew into the brig. I don't know how you would force an enemy player.
Well, I
into
was
the
just thinking
brig.
maybe because a bunch of highlights have gone up recently of like Gang Beast. I can imagine just like knocking an enemy out and giving
just,
like
like,
a
dragging
45-second period
so
where they
cool.
can't do anything, and then you're able to throw them in your brig
That
and
would
like.
be-
But
that'd
then
be
the
awesome.
game suddenly
awesome.
becomes Rust, and then that
Yeah,
gets
a little bit. You
yeah.
can't actually do that
The
in
weird
Rust. You can
things-
physically
this-
like threaten someone to kill them if they don't go into your like fucking jail, but other than that,
This is a weird. I think this is a weird area, and I think it's worth like dissecting and really talking about and having big tough conversations about this game, because this is where video games kind of break the mold against other forms of art. This is where criticism about video games has to kind of adapt to how games are different from, say, movies or books or something like that. In that there are many games, and they're becoming more common, and they're kind of becoming bigger in scope, that do not direct player experience. They're not a game that's like set up and curated to give you a specific experience. They are a set of tools that people use to create their own experiences.
Yeah.
Which is becoming more prevalent, and I honestly am like super excited about that as a concept. Like that as a design philosophy, I think has a lot of merit. I think the best that whole philosophy has to offer has not even been conceived of yet. And but it makes it more difficult to talk about, because you can't talk about these games necessarily in the same way that you can something else that is a more curated experience, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to put a pin on it. It's really difficult to kind of shove it into critical boxes that we're used to using for other games. And I think like we just really need to be cognizant of that.
I totally am trying to be. Couple things that I didn't get to mention before we got sidetracked a little bit, and these are the kinds of things that I think would probably be small and easy to fix, relatively, and could make a dramatic improvement just to maybe the first impression. The
all
game
right, listen
leaves.
up, Rare.
It's kind of a pain in the dick to bring people in to your crew. Like, you start the game out, you create your crew in the menu, you bring them in. But we had several instances where someone dropped, and trying to get them back into the game
that sucks.
wasn't working. So we basically had to go back to the outpost, sell all of our shit, quit the game,
Matchmaking's a
bring
little...
bring people back into the game, and then start. And then
little
and
chunky.
the other weird thing is when you start the game, it just throws you like if you quit the game, if you save or not save, I guess if you sell all your shit and you quit the game and you come back and play again, when you start the game, you don't start in the same place you left. It just throws you on a random outpost island, and it can be totally different. You're just like, oh, where the fuck am I?
To kind of veer off of that real quick. That's something that I understand. Not every game is perfect, and kind of Chris Davis and I played Hunt Showdown, and that was one of the biggest fucking problems of that game was matchmaking. And it's kind of funny that like a game that's based around multiplayer and like playing with friends would have
wasn't
matchmaking
working.
as an issue, and the fact that we had to try and randomly match with random people until we got with each other is an insane thing. But like I said, not every game's perfect, and I understand.
And that was also pre-alpha.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. But anyway, all right, so what else, Nick? What else was?
Well, those were kind of the ones I wanted to mention. I just the matchmaking was a big issue, and I do think it's rather odd that there's no sense of like progression. I mean, your character stays consistent. You keep all your gold and shit, but every time you start in a new place. Which
Not
maybe
that-
that's fairly common in this kind of game. I don't know.
But again, like the world's so flat, like it doesn't really matter where you are.
that is true. Like that
You're
is
kind
true.
of just doing the
It
exact same
sucks
thing
because
everywhere.
like we landed on an island, we killed some skeletons, and I see this big like statue thing on the island. I was like, ooh, what the fuck's that? I went to go explore it, and I turn around, everyone's running back to the ship. They're like, hey, we're leaving.
Well,
And
that
I was
kinda
like,
sucks.
oh, okay.
I mean, I think that's kind of a negative impact on the people you're playing with, and that's kind
But
of
like no, like that thing that I found was for a different mission type, and you may
can you not
eventually
interact with
find
it?
that you may, I mean, not mission type, but like another mission for like there's like
So you might come back to that island for a different
like a
reason.
treasure hunt.
I see.
Stuff, yeah.
I see.
so unless you're pursuing that particular mission, it doesn't really do anything for you. There's no real incentive to continue exploring every time you find an island. This is I hope they kind of move this in a direction where you can spend more time out in the world exploring and actually finding stuff rather than just focusing on treasure, go back, sell it, buy new clothes, maybe buy a new weapon. That I think right now.
I think you can expect that.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
you know what?
hopefully.
What I want to kind of end, and I don't know if we're ending, but what I kind of want to mention towards the end of our conversation, at least, is
I'm sorry, I'm fucking wrong again.
Yeah,
No, he's not talking to you.
yeah, he's talking about someone else.
They're having a whole
What I want to say, Nick, is I thought this conversation was fucking awesome. I love this.
Yeah, but
it
sucks because like people listening at home, it's just gonna sound like we're yelling at each other.
I mean, that's fine. What's wrong with that?
I would hope that our audience
Like
is
I feel heated right now. I feel like I need to
sophisticated
take a break.
It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. I would hope that our audience is sophisticated enough to understand that sometimes critical discussions get a little heated.
Thank you, Crispy.
Yeah,
like,
but it
Nick,
doesn't mean
there's
anything.
nothing wrong with disagreeing about something, and that's what
We're very
I
passionate about the subject.
we
so
are,
obviously
and
our
I-
opinions are
I
passionate.
love that more.
This
I
isn't
love
even the
that.
game I'm really passionate about this week.
And that's fine,
No,
Nick. That's
but
fine. But I love that we're not all over here just fucking jerking off. It's fucking dick. I love that we're having a conversation about what is wrong with it and what's good about it and how it could be better. And like there's nothing wrong with that. It's video games. This is the shit we love, Nick. Come on. I love it.
Nick.
I need a breather.
At the end of the day, video games are
We
just
talked
serious
about one
business.
game in the first segment.
That's fine.
Fucking kill me.
That's fine. We got a lot more, man.
There's
Far Cry's gonna be a talk.
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
See, I feel like I'm not prepared to try and defend Far Cry.
Well, hold on. Did you want to talk about? Before we break, let's talk about Ni No Kuni then.
Yeah, I've only played 2 hours.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that's actually played a decent chunk of that game. So it'll be a pretty
I've
heavy.
basically played past
like
the
I
tutorial.
didn't talk too much. I said I talked quite a bit during the what was that game?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. Jesus Christ, I was like, No Man's Sky. Sea of Thieves conversation. But let me talk about Ni No Kuni. Let me talk about that.
There's no way we could fight about Ni No Kuni, right?
Right?
That game's charming
Right?
as hell.
Listen to this shit.
Oh, God.
Okay, so Ni No Kuni. Let's talk about video games. All right, so you're playing a video game, right? You got the. I don't have a PS4 controller in my hand, so you got a PS4 controller, right?
Yeah,
Right. All right. How do you think on a PS4 controller you would open the map?
With
Touchpad.
The touchpad.
Okay, how do you think you would
Or
pause
start
the
button.
game?
With the option button.
Okay.
It's backwards.
It's the fucking opposite, and you can't switch it! And it makes me so fucking mad!
Worst game
Well,
of the
actually,
year.
what I'd said before was
I know.
like something centered around the middle.
Correct. But does it not make sense that a big fucking rectangle would open a map?
I mean, every game, every
Okay,
open...
but the only reason why you think that is because you've been trained to think that by previous games.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. But
I mean, it's kind of like when you play Metal Gear Solid. Like if you're used to playing like
Just remember,
Western
5 years
games.
ago, you didn't know what the fuck a touchpad was.
that's true. That's
I mean,
true.
but think about it. Like, remember the first time you like if you're playing a bunch of Western games,
Yes.
and suddenly you go play Metal Gear Solid for the first time, and an X and circle
Yeah,
are backwards.
that is true.
Like it's the same thing.
Okay,
It's
but
like,
that's just poor design.
Well, that is true. But no, so
Same here,
I
bitch.
played this game. I played this
terrible.
game for like
That's a
12
sin.
hours so far. I'm like 12 hours into Ni No Kuni, which is probably honestly not that much. But literally every time I play this game, for the first at least 10 to 15 times, I open the map or pause, I press the wrong button.
Yeah, I've already done it like
every
10 times.
fucking time. And it just sucks because it's like, man, you know, if I was playing this on PC and I was using a DualShock 4, I could switch those. I could remap it.
Yep.
And that's just so frustrating. But anyway,
It is
all right.
frustrating.
That aside, Ni No Kuni's pretty delightful.
It is very delightful.
I've been enjoying it. And so hold on. One of the big things people have been complaining about is this game's easy.
It's kind of on baby mode a little bit.
It is a little easy, but
How many hours have you played though?
12. I already said
And
it.
I've only
12
It
played
might
about-
ramp up.
I know, and that's fine. I don't think it will.
I mean,
but
They're not done developing it, Nolan.
that's fine.
First of all,
I don't
yes,
need.
they are.
I don't
Next
need
month's
this
content
game.
patch.
I don't need this game to get more difficult. Honestly, I don't care that it's kind of quote easy. I've been enjoying it while I've been playing it. So let's kind of take a couple steps back.
It's like people can talk about it being easy, and they're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've been playing nothing but like fucking Hollow Knight
Oh, that's true.
for like months. So playing something that's a little baby mode, it's kind of nice.
Dude, don't get me wrong. I'm
nice.
enjoying that. Like, I'm enjoying not grinding my teeth and fucking squeezing my controller and kind of bending a little bit to the point where I can fucking break it. I'm enjoying not doing that. I'm enjoying that. This game is actually quite different from Revenant Kingdom. Sorry, this is Revenant Kingdom.
This
This
is
is quite
Revenant
different from The White Witch, Wrath of the White Witch.
Yes.
This is quite different from that. This
It's no longer a mini Pokemon game.
correct. There's no longer. It's not mini Pokemon.
There's
Isn't
not
that what was cool about the version?
That was kind of one of the cool things, but they've changed it up, and there's other cool things.
I think
Dude,
at this
Crispy,
point,
this game has a fucking Dark Souls dodge. When you're fucking fighting bosses, there's literally the game talks about the
But
fact
do you need it?
you have iframes. Yeah. Dude,
But it's so easy.
No,
Why
hold
would
on.
you need a Dark Souls dodge
It's
with
easy.
iframes?
It's
if the
easy.
game's that
It's easy
because
because
you
of the
have
Dark
that
Souls
dodge. Dude, bosses do quite a bit of damage. But
And honestly, at this point, I think the you talk about Ni No Kuni's like Pokemon
we not
battle
have
system in the
footage
first
for
one
You
being
didn't have
kind
it
of
in
what
the
made it
folder, I didn't
interesting.
see it.
And you're not wrong, but I also feel like
why didn't you tell me this?
wait, what happened?
You always put it in the folder. You didn't put it in
Dude,
there.
Chris Davis is just like dropping
this
so
wasn't-
many balls
This
tonight.
wasn't my fault.
Quit dropping our balls,
Bullshit.
Chris.
It wasn't my fault.
Let me just say, I
The
think
Pokemon con?
the Pokemon thing was cool in the first one, but I think the thread that makes these connected. That I mean, aside from there's some places that you go to from the first one that's still the same here. I think I
just
think
put it in
the
the folder.
interesting thing.
Give me a second.
Keep talking. This podcast, I cannot.
I'm listening to you, Nick. I'm with you. Nick, I'm here. I'm with you.
Wonderful, because the other couch is now completely empty, and all you can see is
Tell me
Nolan's ass.
about the Pokemon.
Nolan's ass is blocking me on the screen. Okay, sorry.
It's a better view.
So,
What happened to this show?
I don't know. This show is a goddamn wreck.
A shipwreck?
Shit. The thread that ties these two games together is not the battle system. It is in fact just the visual style.
Yeah,
visual style
the
and
Studio
and
Ghibli
storytelling
kind
and
of
the world.
Ghibli
The
style.
world,
Yeah,
same.
sure. Well, yeah. So that's the thing is that you do start in Ding Dong Dell, which was the main city from Ni No Kuni, Wrath of the
Great
White
name.
Witch.
That is a
Shut
great
up.
goddamn name.
Ding Dong Dell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You play as the
All
king.
the buildings look like penises.
You play as the king of the kingdom.
Well,
or
hold
the
on.
new king.
He's not the king officially. The ceremony has not taken place now.
Yeah, he is
He's
about to become king.
the king to
He's
be.
the king apparent.
Yeah. So anyway, so
Of Ding Dong
this
Dell.
game actually has like, it is a lot fucking deeper than I thought it was going to be. There are so
mechanically
many
speaking?
mechanics
Yeah.
that are in this game, and I don't know if I go into them in the footage. I honestly don't think I do. But at some point I'll probably bring up the pause screen, and it's insane. And I'll probably accidentally bring up the pause screen once or twice when I'm meaning to bring up the
Yeah,
map.
when you're trying to look at the map.
But just like how many things are in that in the system. What's going on, Chris Davis?
Oh, it's an XSplit thing. I think it's not wanting to play any videos.
XSplit's fucking up apparently.
Don't worry, the second segment will be better.
So Chris Davis literally fucked it.
You didn't say
For
the magic
everyone.
word.
But anyway, okay, so I'm trying to talk about this game without footage, man. Okay, so what can you do in this game? So it starts off, one of the main characters, Roland, is not from this world.
Oh, that's right. The game opens and I was like, "This is what?"
Yeah.
What is
so
this?
like a president from like our world is like transported into the world of Ni No Kuni.
President?
Yeah,
The
he's
president of maybe the United States.
It doesn't really explain it. Yeah.
He's a president. He's in like a presidential like what do they call it?
Does he have a spray on tan?
No, he's, what do you call it when the convoy? He's in
Convoy,
a
yeah.
presidential
This
convoy.
game is oddly political.
He's in a presidential convoy driving into the city, and a fucking like nuclear bomb hits the city and explodes, and he gets transported to another
What the
fucking.
fuck are you talking about?
It's
Talking about
totally
Ni No Kuni.
unexpected.
So anyway, so now he's
He
in
gets transported to Ding Dong Dell.
yeah, and the funny thing
In
is,
hell.
Crispy, this is one of the best parts.
died.
So
This
like
Ni No Fallout?
so like Evan, who was Evan Periwinkle something or another, I can't remember the rest of his name.
The king of Ding Dong Dell.
The
Evan.
king to be.
His
The Ding
name
Dong
is my
King.
name too.
So
The Ding Dong King.
yeah. So anyway,
That's the name of the show.
Roland shows up, and Evan's like, "Who the fuck are you? Call the guards!" And he's like, "Guards, help!" And the guards are like, "Get the king!" Because a coup all of a sudden is going on at the same time. There's a coup, and so the guards pull out swords, and they're like ready to fight. And Roland just fucking shoots one in the face
With a pistol. With a fucking pistol.
And,
Really?
Yes. And
Is it
everyone's-
violent?
Yeah, oh, not too bad. It's, but it's
Not at
just
all.
funny because there's this like fantasy kingdom when everyone's swords and magic, and he just fucking shoots him in the face.
Okay, well, first of all,
Fucking great.
I think one thing that a lot of people probably forget if you played Ni No Kuni 1, there was a modern day component to that game.
No,
too.
there was.
But I think a lot of people forget about it. And
Yeah, it was
it's
less.
just a little more like crazy in this one.
Thank you, Prince. His name is Evan Tildrum Pettywhisker. That is his full name.
God.
Yeah. But anyway, so Evan is the king to be, but there's a coup. Someone is trying to take over his kingdom before he can officially become king. Roland shows up and he's like, "I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it seems like you're probably the good guy and they're the bad guys. I'm gonna help you out." So you're off. Combat, like I said, is much more intense than it was in the first game. In the first game, yes, you did that kind of Pokemon element, or where you would capture creatures and you would have them fight. In this, you were doing all the fighting, and the quote creatures, in this case, Higgledees, are the kind of like offside.
They're like little Pikmin.
They're like Pikmin. They are very much like Pikmin, and they're doing their own thing.
Or like elements, maybe?
Kind of like Pikmin. I don't know. Hold on, we'll get to it. So yeah, not every character, but most of them have different weapon styles they can do. Both Roland and Evan use swords, but everyone has a melee and a ranged weapon. Evan is a spellcaster.
I don't know if you picked up on this, but Roland's is a fucking pistol.
Roland uses weapons, not always a pistol. He gets a shotgun later.
Are they like fantasy shotguns?
Kind of.
His pistol's not.
His default pistol is not. It's like a Glock. It's like a Glock.
So like executing.
Yeah, Evan has a wand that he casts spells with. You meet some new characters later on. You meet like some sky pirates. One of them uses an axe and a bow, and the other one uses spears. So yeah, they each have their own weapon classes. And you're physically doing combat. And one of the cool things is, as opposed to the first game, you can. I can't remember the first game, but you can switch between any of them anytime in combat.
See, I haven't even gotten far enough to realize that I can switch them.
There's so many elements.
I thought the non-Evan characters were AI controlled.
Oh no. So you can switch between them. You have 3 different main weapons you have equipped, and each of them builds up like a meter. And when that meter is at 100%, if you cast like a spell or use an ability, it does extra damage. So it's kind of like this whole like thing where it's like this weapon does more base damage, but it's at 0% like spell buildup. So I actually want to switch to this other weapon that does a little bit less, but it's like at 95. So if I can get a few more hits in with that, it'll be at 100, and I can cast a spell that will do some massive damage.
So it's like weapon specific, like limit breaks.
Yes.
Okay.
It's and that's just like scratching the surface of the shit that's in this game.
The Higgledy-Biggledees, whatever they are kind of scattered. Like you collect them and they're scattered.
So there's different classes of Higgledees.
Yeah, they're like Pikmin. This is the best way to explain them. They're like Pikmin. They all have different powers and abilities.
I have to wonder if that's like the translation name or if that's actually what they're called in the original version.
Yeah, I think so.
They're probably called Higgledees.
And when they're brought into battle, you can they'll collect. Sometimes they'll gather in like a certain part
they'll form like a fucking like cult circle,
and you can run up to them, and then they can do special attacks if they're all gathered together.
Yeah.
And like the one I did was like you trigger this attack and they pull out like a giant fucking cannon.
So so the default Higgledees you get.
It sounds a little bit more Wonderful 101.
Yeah, no, kind of. So when you interact with their circle, they turn into a cannon, and they will launch like rocks or like explosions at them. You'll get ones that will turn into a cannon that does water. You'll get ones that are like kind of like purplish, and they'll cause like, best way to describe it is almost like a supernova, like a gravitational force. On the enemy. There are ones that when you interact with them, they'll form a like circle of light, and if any of your party is standing in it, they will be healed. Lots of different Higgledees. You can only have 4 at a time, so you got to choose which ones you want to bring into combat.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing is outside of combat, there's a lot of planning that goes into combat. There's literally a menu. It's kind of like your upgrade menu. Like the more you do battle, you'll get points, and you can put them into abilities. So it's like you can. Oh my god, I'm trying to even like remember how complex.
We're going to talk about this more too because I'm going to continue.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more. But Nick, have you gotten to the it's like the task? I can't remember what it was called.
The answer is no, because I just unlocked the Higgledy.
So yeah, you'll get like essentially like a little device
I don't know what the fuck
that can like plan out combat. So you'll be able to like literally on a scale be like, oh, I want to increase my damage to fire or my defense to fire, or I want to have enemies drop more money, or I want enemies to give me more experience, or it is insane how many different options are on this single one menu. Just for kind of slightly ticking how the combat works.
Can I just say one thing about the combat that drives me fucking bonkers?
What's that?
When you it's an action RPG, so you're running freely around the map and attacking, right?
Yes.
It has the ability to lock onto an enemy with
during combat. You can R3 to like lock on.
You would expect when you hit R3 to lock on something, you would orient towards that enemy and then strafe around them, right?
Like the camera would stay locked on.
That is not what happens. Yeah. You lock on the enemy and you can still run in any direction. And it is so disorienting. I could be locked onto a dude that's way behind me and running the complete opposite direction.
But if you attack, you'll kind of like go back towards him. It's weird.
Okay. Because I'm having a hard time visualizing.
It'd be nice if we had footage.
Like, yeah, it would be nice if that would fucking work.
It's a big circle. You're just in a big fucking circle.
I'm more curious about like this fucking scale. Sure. That you're like.
So
doing
so yeah. So hold on. So
this, without pictures, this sounds fucking.
so there's
complicated.
2 different kinds of how combat works. So if you're in like an area, like in like a canyon. So there's a time you go into a canyon.
Okay.
You'll physically see enemies, and when you interact with them, combat just starts. There's no screen switching. There's nothing. You just start into combat. When you're on the overworld, it's more like an old school RPG, where as soon as you interact with them, it kind of takes you into combat. So there's, like I said, that's the kind of 2 different ways it happens.
So one part classic Final Fantasy, and one part Final Fantasy.
More modern, yes, correct.
Your favorite.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, there's that. That's combat's just one element of this game. Like Chris was saying, you explore the open world. You're kind of like chibi characters where you're kind of running around the open world. You can fight enemies. You can find new
I've heard
areas.
some people say they are not as impressed by the visual style of the open world or of the
Compared to the first one.
because this game, unlike Ni No Kuni 1, I could be wrong about this. Someone might need to correct me, but I think this game was actually developed without Studio Ghibli's involvement.
I believe so.
The first game was touted as like a partnership between Level 5 and Studio Ghibli.
That's my understanding.
This game has been like they're going to continue to try and capture that look and feel,
Correct.
but without Studio Ghibli's involvement. And for some reason, the overworld just feels a little bit more. I mean, I still think it looks great. I just think it doesn't have as much personality or as much color and
that's fine.
personality as Ni No Kuni 1, which kind of sucks. But.
So anyway, like I said, the other thing, Crispy, is while you're in that open world, not only can you go into combat, there's like, what's the best way to describe it? There's like,
Ding dongs?
no, hold on, like army battles. So you'll interact with like a what are those flags called? Like banner. You'll interact with a banner, and then you'll go into combat with another like bandits, and you'll have troops on your side that fight along with you, like people. No, these aren't like higgledies. These aren't creatures. They're like physical people, and you'll have to fight the enemy troops. And there's like almost like a rock paper scissors type thing. You'll be surrounded by four troops, and they're either going to be like weapons based, like swords, like hammers, or like arrows. And it's almost like a rock, paper, scissors thing where you kind of have to try and focus one type of troop. I really wish we had fucking footage on another type. And it's literally, you're still in that chibi form, but you're like fighting other troops to try and take over their area.
And these troops are like in formation? And
Yeah,
shit?
like they're all in
I
formations.
mean, is it like an RTS?
Kind of. Yes, it kind of goes RTS for a little bit. It's weird. So that's just one element of the game. And the thing is, all of this kind of ties back in to your town. So kind of spoilers. Evan decides, you know what? Ding Dong Dell, fuck that place. I'm making a new kingdom.
Damn.
All right.
And Nick's
so
not
this
there
is Little
yet.
King story now?
It turns into Little King story, where you have an empty kingdom. There's
think
like
that
nothing.
Dark Cloud is kind of what people.
Oh,
have
I
been
guess
kind of
I
using
guess
as
Dark Cloud.
comparison.
So Dark Cloud's more of like you're building your own town piece by piece.
I mean, I don't know how the system works.
You're describing this. Hold on, let me get to it. Let me get to it. So you start with just a castle. Y'all decide to build a castle. So actually, you go off and do your own thing, and when you come back, it turns out the people who decided to follow you built a castle for you. So you get back there, and now you have to use a special type of gold, which you kind of only developed. It's only useful in your kingdom to expand your kingdom. You can build facilities that will do research and development on weapons, on magic, on on shield, on like armor. There will be facilities you build that do nothing but kind of like go out and look for resources, and resources that you use for crafting, because you can craft weapons, you can enhance weapons. There are facilities that focus on that kind of army mechanic, that focus on like teaching your guys new skills, giving them new abilities in combat. There are facilities that focus on the higgledies. Because the higgledies don't just like pop up out of nowhere. You actually have to cook them in pots.
What?
And so, yeah.
To make them?
Yeah.
And they're alive?
Yeah.
You know what the higgledies look like?
What are they made of?
The fucking tweakers and
Delicious,
Princess
evidently.
Mononoke.
The spirits of the forest.
Oh,
yeah.
The tweakers. I like
They're like the Studio Ghibli version of Smurfs.
And so, dude, the
And
kingdom.
you're Gargamel.
That kind of gets into like one of the kind of shitty things about this game is the bigger your. Oh no, Butters! Did you hit the power?
Now we have no television.
I don't know where the remote
He's laying
is.
on top of it.
Now we
Butters, where's
can't
the
see the
remote?
footage we don't
All right,
have.
here it is. I got it. Well, we need to be able to see chat. So the kingdom kind of it ties back into itself. So You have to build buildings, and these buildings will get you more like reputation in your kingdom. And the more reputation you have, the more gold you can earn to build the buildings.
Special gold.
Exactly, the special gold. And that comes with time. You literally get X amount of the special gold every like 10 minutes or whatever. And the same with like the crafting materials that your guys get for you.
I have a feeling you can buy these with real world currency, can't you?
There are microtransactions.
Fucking knew it!
Oh wait, hold on, no.
Cancer,
Hold
cancer.
on. No.
This is just one step
I'm
away
sorry,
from Metal
hold
Gear
on.
Survive.
I'm playing two games at the same time. I'm thinking of Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 has microtransactions.
Oh, it sure
I don't
does.
think Ni No Kuni does.
It sure does.
Maybe it does, and I'm just not remembering it. I'm confusing the games because I'm playing two at the same time. But I don't think Little King Story focuses on that. I think it's more.
You mean Ni No Kuni 2?
Thank you. What did I say?
King
King
Luke.
Story?
We kept talking about Little King Story. I don't
mean Dark Cloud 2?
Because I'm thinking of the Little King Story aspect of Ni No Kuni 2. I don't think it has microtransactions at all. I really don't think it does. But anyway, that's just one fucking part of the game. Dude, you're going to cities and trying to solve these cities' problems and exploring these cities. And there's people you can interact with that will give you side quests. They'll be like, oh, I need some thread. And you go find the fucking thing and kill it and get the thread and go back to them. And then they join your city. They're like, you know what? You helped me out. This city fucking sucks.
So you're
Your
literally
city-
building a kingdom with a resistance to the...
Correct. Well, technically, hold on. Evan is trying to build a kingdom that will rule the world to make it a better place. But that still sounds
That
a
sounds
little...
very villainy.
It kind of does.
Is Evan a dictator?
Yes.
Wait, is Evan the president?
No,
No, it's
Roland
Roland.
is the president. Evan.
So does Roland like roll around in his
Yes.
suit? And
So hold on. So
block
for
the
a
whole
while
day?
he's wearing like a suit, like a straight up suit,
Yeah,
like a
like a
two-piece
business
suit.
suit.
And then for a while they're like, oh, you need to go back into this more like our area, like, our time kind of outfit, just so you blend in a little better. But I think he does go back into a suit every once in a while. But anyway, dude, there's just so much more shit in this game. There is a lot going on in this game. The stories are fairly good. Some of the stories, one of the first towns you come across is Goldpaw. And it's all about the way they rule their town is by luck. If you are accused of a crime, you go to, I forget what her name is,
That does
like
not seem safe.
the Mystic Lady or something, and it's this giant statue who has a die and rolls the die, and depending on what it lands on, you
That's
might
awesome.
die, you might get off free.
That's cool.
And that's how this fucking town runs.
That's cool.
You're like, hey, taxes this month, roll the
It's
die.
whatever we roll.
If it's a 1, you don't pay taxes. If it's a 6, taxes are doubled.
That's awesome. That's a cool idea for an RPG town.
Right?
Yeah.
And someone might be messing with the die.
I might be low to die.
Oh shit! Yeah, dude, this guy, it's actually really fun. Like trying to solve, like going through, like finding out the mysteries and how this works, and kind of like the different characters and how they interact with each other.
I've only played like 2 hours of it, but it definitely has fucking charm.
Dude, it is
Lots of
charming.
charm.
And once again, I will say, the game's easy. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind though.
But the bosses look cool, and the fights are fun, even if you're probably not going to fail ever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There is some kind of like backtracking in this game, like an RPG, where you'll learn an ability that will let you access an area that you didn't have before. Like there's one that like is able to make bridges. There's one that kind of grows mushrooms so you can climb up them.
A little bit of Metroidvania.
I wouldn't call it Metrovania so much as it's just more backtracking.
Yeah.
In the open world to try and get to places.
It's a cool game.
But I'm definitely enjoying it. Like I said, I'm only about 12 hours in. Probably at least 2 of that hours is letting the game idle so I can earn some currency in the main town so I can build some stuff.
Is it like the
Yeah.
Fable thing?
It's like it's
Okay.
like any game that you earn money over time. So if you just go take a shit or go eat dinner and you let your game idle, you're still making money.
Okay.
So
Technically
definitely
still playing.
Getting paid to shit.
yeah, pretty much. One of the things I do also like about this game is all your characters level up at the same time.
Oh,
and oh my god,
good.
I
feel
fucking
like that
hate
is that is a thing.
in RPGs.
When you have to switch them out, and
Yeah.
just grind
That
them.
should be the default for every RPG ever made.
I don't know if there's going to be a point in time where you do have to switch, like, you can only use certain characters, but the fact that they're all leveling up at the same time is just like a fucking weight off my shoulder. So there is, just real quick, Drippy was one of the
Drippy's
characters.
back?
No, Drippy is not back.
Oh.
There's a new Drippy, and it's kind of
Droopy?
weird.
He's a little weird,
So
like,
he's actually a
character from the first
kingmaker.
No, it's Droopy.
Droopy. No, Drippy is in
No,
the first game.
I know. I'm
Are you
just saying
talking
the
about
new
the
one's
dog?
Droopy.
No, shut up. I forget his name, but he talks like kind of like he has like a Scottish accent.
That's the way Drippy talked in the first one.
I guess so, but it's worse.
Can't quite place his accent.
So one of my big problems with this game is there's actually less dialogue than I think there should be. Like, there's not a lot of voice dialogue.
Oh, you mean spoken voice?
Voice dialogue, yeah. There's a lot of text, and the thing is, they type out his words in his accent, and it's kind of fucking weird. I've also found several
They're
typos.
Welsh accents, according to
Welsh.
Dingle.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Welsh accents. I have found multiple typos in this game. Come on, guys. Come on.
Come on, localization.
Right?
They're putting U's where they shouldn't be in their words.
Not that. So at first I thought that the new guy, I keep forgetting his name, the Kingmaker, I forgot his name. Lofty, thank you. Lofty is his name. I thought his was typos, but they were typing like how he was supposed to be. No, there's one like tutorial menu. That's like something that should be in the past tense, but it's in the present tense. And
the
it's
tutorial
like
has an accent as well.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm gonna keep playing this game. I'm enjoying it.
I
like
definitely gonna also keep playing it, but not until after I finish Far Cry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Which might take you a little bit.
Which might, but I have a whole weekend to just play an unhealthy amount of Far Cry, so that's probably what's going to happen this weekend.
And
Right.
honestly, before I've probably forgotten something about this game.
Oh, and don't worry,
just because there is so much to talk about.
We'll have more opportunities to bring it up and talk about it in the future.
Yeah.
We need to take a break. We still have a couple games to talk about, including Far Cry 5, which I would like to spend some time talking about.
I mean, it is part of the banner.
And we will have footage when we come back from this short break. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. We're back from our break. We've got some beers, except for Chris Davis. He doesn't have a beer
I work tomorrow.
because he.
We all work tomorrow, Chris Davis.
But I drink to excess. Also, I don't like beer.
There it is.
I like vodka.
I have vodka. Do you want? I have sake. You want
Do you
some
want me
sake?
to go home?
I have Patron.
Because I drink to excess.
Guys, we're already wasting time.
That's true.
We've got so many other things
Valuable
to talk about.
time.
Vodka.
I've mentally prepared myself for this
butters.
conversation. Let's have it now.
About Butters?
Far Cry 5
Ooh,
Is it a video game?
is a video game. It's out, and surprisingly, everyone on this couch has been playing it.
that's true.
A lot.
These couches.
Nick, let's talk about this. Okay, let me tell you
how
first
wrong
of all,
you are.
before this begins.
Let's talk about why this game sucks.
Before this begins, I think that I'm having the most fun with this game than I've ever had with a Far Cry game. It is fun for largely the same reasons that the other Far Cries are fun, but this one is kind of just like a refinement of all of that sandbox action movie goodness kind of just like dumped into this weird recreation of Montana. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I think it's probably my favorite of the Far Cry series. Nick, what do you like about it?
We're getting the good stuff out
On
of
the
way.
spot.
I love Far Cry.
Oh, do you?
Yes, this is a favorite series of mine. I've played every one since 2, and I like the series a lot. Admittedly, a lot. And
Nick, which do you like more, Far Cry or Assassin's Creed?
if you want to base it purely on hours and the number of like games in the series that I think have been legit good versus the ones that have been meh or bad, maybe Far Cry.
There you go. All right.
I don't know, which is weird. I don't play a lot of shooters these days. We were having this.
I wouldn't describe Far Cry as a shooter.
What?
I would say that shooting happens in the game.
Okay, see, this is weird.
Shut up, Nolan. You're drunk.
This is a weird.
I'm not drunk
because
what are you talking about?
it's weird because right before we were having this kind of debate right before the podcast started, because I was talking about how I haven't played a lot of shooters recently. I've played games that involve shooting, but there are a lot of games out there that I really love that involve shooting that I wouldn't classify as first-person shooters. I think Far Cry is probably my favorite first-person shooter on the market right now. Like as far as like mechanically speaking, how it feels to fire the guns and explore and have and like as far as the sandbox goes, I think it's one of the best feeling shooters out there. The last first person shooter I played that I loved, I think that I would call a first person shooter is probably Doom 2016. But Far Cry I think has been consistently good, and I know this series gets a lot of shit for being kind of derivative.
Yeah.
I just kind of base response to that. I would always say I think Far Cry's baseline core mechanics, its loop, its actual gameplay is strong enough to kind of carry the series. and what makes them different from game to game is mostly
The environments, where you're at,
and story and characters
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And that's what I come back to the series for. I always love seeing where they take you next.
I think it's there. Honestly, in my opinion, there is more than just that. I think weapon variety changes. I think vehicles change.
they keep making incremental
vehicles
improvements
not
to,
so
to
much.
the system.
The bad
a
guys
little.
still mainly drive around in trucks.
Dude,
Well, I
in
mean,
4
they all
you had
got
the fucking gyrocopter.
I also am gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm also,
Yeah,
But now you've got
Well,
helicopters.
You don't
and-
have that here, which kind of sucks.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm
Right?
also kind of.
you have a
I'm kind of
wingsuit.
weird in that, like, I am one of the few people out there who would probably say their favorite Far Cry game is Primal. And a lot of people seem to forget that game exists. I like that game a lot for the because it does a lot to kind of break the mold and try something totally different, and I really applaud it for that. And the atmosphere in that game I think was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think the atmosphere in this game is amazing too, in different ways. Like for I play all the way through Primal. I turn the music off in that game.
Really?
Yeah, and by the way, like this kind of shit right here that I'm doing right here, like the fact that you can go from like shooting a dude, throwing an explosive, to jump, like seeing an opportunity with a dude running across the street and then jumping off a roof and like doing a takedown from above, like and how all that stuff can happen so fluidly, and like that is what I fucking love about Far Cry. I don't feel like you get that much variety in like a 30-second period. in
I know
most
where you are.
shooters.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my baseline. That's what I love about Far Cry.
Wait,
It's all
Nick,
very true here.
What are your opinions on Boomer?
Dude, Dude, I got Boomer the other day. I think Boomer's probably obviously I think the biggest addition
Dude,
mechanically.
the best thing about Boomer is he just picks shit up for you.
Yeah,
Oh
dude,
my
I was in
God.
the
Brings
middle
it
of a
to you?
firefight.
Yeah.
I was unloading a machine gun, and he comes walking up to me with a clip,
Yeah.
and it just like
Auto,
and
yeah,
adds
ups-
it to my
yeah.
inventory. I was like, oh shit, thanks.
Yep.
Didn't even have to stop shooting.
Fucking best dog in the
Dude,
world.
you see outside enemies?
Butters.
If you get on a fucking like ATV and start just like booking it down the road, like he keeps pace with you.
So
the
that
whole
was,
time.
no,
I
hold on.
fucking
That
love
was the thing. I was playing the other day, and I got in a truck, and Boomer didn't get in, and I'm like, "Fuck me! What?
why does
He
he do
doesn't
that?
need a truck.
And then I was like, well, hold on, let me just drive to this place real quick, and I'll get Boomer. And I look at my turn my head, and he's just keeping pace. I'm like, oh shit, Boomer's awesome. He just
Yeah, I
let me
was
get in
like,
the car.
why doesn't he jump in the back of my pickup truck?
Right?
Instead, he just fucking.
That was happening for me, and I realized suddenly, like, I heard a yelp, and I realized that he got hit by a car that was driving past me.
Son of a bitch! Why would you let that happen
I think
to him?
Boomer is cool because
Well, if he would get in the fucking truck, we wouldn't have this problem.
here's one thing I also like about Far Cry. Mm-hmm. A lot of the way this game is designed and built is like everything is kind of done in the interest of fun for the player. So like Boomer can't die.
Yep.
He can he can be injured and he can be like down and out for a little while.
And he
so
will
you can't use him.
despawn for a while.
But you are never like fearing like, oh no, I could lose my dog and then have to go recruit another dog or just lose my dog.
There is
altogether.
no other dog.
I know.
Yeah, well,
There's
I mean, yeah,
just
that is,
Boomer.
and that
There
is-
are
that's
other
true of all
animals.
of the
Fuck
like,
you. There's just Boomer.
of all the main
cheeseburger, sir.
of all the main like companion characters. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
and you
true.
can even upgrade it so that they're not dead for as long.
Yeah.
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 I also think the setting for this game is a pretty inspired choice. It's weird to think though.
Okay.
Do you remember back when this
a
game
pin
was
in that.
first announced?
Yeah.
Wait, put what?
No, just keep going.
I said put a pin in that.
Keep going. We'll,
No,
we'll,
yeah.
we'll talk about it.
When
When it was first announced.
When this game was first announced, or sorry, before it was announced, and there were rumors starting to circulate about where Far Cry 5 was going to take place. Everything was pointing to this being a Western.
Yeah.
This is that game. Like this
mean,
is like
yeah.
everyone was like, they're making a fucking Far Cry Western. And then there's like, it takes place in Montana. It's gonna be a fucking like modern day Western, but a Western. And like, this is not a Western.
No.
It
I
takes place
expected-
in the Midwest.
Yeah.
But it's not really a Western. There's really nothing about this game that screams like the same vibe you get when you're playing like Red Dead Redemption or Call of Juarez or anything. This is
Yeah.
not that game. But I do like the setting quite a bit. But yes, you wanted to put a pin in it.
So let's
go for
talk
it.
about
Montana.
Montana. Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about
Let's talk about the Peggies.
let's
talk
talk
how-
about the advertising for this game. So there's been a conversation going around Twitter at least about people displeased that some reviewers had dinged their scores for this game because it kind of like lacks politics, I guess. Which I don't think in and of itself is necessarily a bad thing, but here's the thing. This game was set with a very specific setting, using very specific imagery and trappings that are
evocative.
incredibly topical
Yeah.
current events.
Correct.
And they definitely used that to kind of cash in on like building hype and selling the game.
Of course.
And then the story is
Not that at all.
is absolutely milquetoast.
Yeah.
The story is I think objectively on its own the story is not good. But I
hold on,
also think that it fails to engage with the themes that they were using to sell the game.
To play off of that, Crispy, the story being milquetoast and not that great, I don't think I've ever played a Far Cry game for the story.
No, that's true. Okay, that is fine. But you know what?
Yeah.
You know what?
opinion, but
None
for
of
me-
the other Far Cry entries really tried to lean on that.
That's true.
As a selling
Okay,
point.
so- sorry,
Like,
I will agree
when
there.
you were like Voss on the tropical island, like there wasn't a political undertone to
Yeah.
that. The
He was just a crazy guy.
right, and they kind of doubled down on that again with
Pagan Men.
Pagan
Pagan
Man.
Man,
You know, it was just another like, oh, crazy guy set in India. You know, that game had its own set of issues.
But in that game,
and
you
then
could get
Primal
high.
was completely different. Like Primal, like I don't really care for Primal as a gameplay experience, but I definitely see why you like it, especially in that it is the most unique of any of them. It was like it doesn't make any sense that they did that game, but like fucking bravo for the ball.
And the character,
you know?
the thing is, the characters in that game, not even just like the villain character, but I'm talking like all the characters you meet in that game are really awesome to watch and like see how they play out. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that you can't understand what they're saying.
Well,
what
the
I-
really
but-
great
but
thing
what-
about Primal, in my opinion, is it sticks to the actual branding of what Far Cry is supposed to be, which is these wild, way off destinations where you have no help. It's just you in this environment and experiencing the world.
Sure. But this isn't a conversation about Primal. It's
Yeah.
a conversation about 5. And what 5 does differently is that it picks a location, a setting, it picks a bad guy, and it picks a theme that is meant to imply that this game is going to
Oh, Jesus Christ, dog.
be the type of to be a type of story that might reel in other people that wouldn't otherwise play this game. You know that this one's going to be different because this one's going to engage you not just on a fun action movie sandbox level, but also on a narrative level that has something to say.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this game was sold until we started getting closer to launch and they started backpedaling on that and being like, oh, well, no, it's actually just kind of like you ride around cars and blow things up and shoot guns just like every Far Cry. You know, there's nothing different about this. But that is incredibly disingenuous, I think. And I think that if you're going to rely on controversy and you're going to rely on topical politics to sell your game, and then your game doesn't touch on that at all, you deserve to get dinged.
It's a little bit
Like that is
disingenuous,
a standard that you set for yourself that you did not meet.
I am also not saying this is going to happen, and it's probably most certainly not going to happen, but we haven't finished the game. So like it could have something to say by the end of it. I highly doubt that.
I mean,
But
I don't think so.
my problem with the story narratively is that everything that happens after like the first hour of the game doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah,
Like,
how much did you play?
I don't know. The villains.
I've played about 7 hours now.
I don't think that it doesn't necessarily make
I don't- yeah,
sense
I
in
wouldn't-
a narrative thread. I think the whole setup, like I think the world doesn't make any sense. I think like this version of Montana doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
I'll agree with that.
I think that the characters like. You understand the threat. You understand what the good guy wants. You understand what the bad guy wants. I don't think it's well constructed or well sketched out. I don't think the bad guys are any good at all. Like, I mean, I watched a cutscene last night that was like bad guy tortures you and another person cutscene that I swear to God I've seen in 1,000 games and movies before. There's nothing new being added here. No. It's just relying on flash and cliche, and that is fine. But like. There is a certain way that this game is written and a certain tone in which it presents itself that is exactly the same as every other game, in that the game wants the gameplay to be really fun and arcadey and outlandish and like, haha, I'm jumping ATVs over garbage fires and dropping bombs out of helicopters. But the story does not want to engage you in that way. The story wants to be serious. The story wants to be this big thing with like a lot of stakes. It wants to be drama. It wants it wants to have a completely different tone. It wants to, if I may borrow a phrase that was kind of popular a few years ago, maybe some of you remember it, but it actively tries to create a ludonarrative dissonance.
That's why. No,
okay.
That's all I wanted to use.
I don't like overusing, kind of critical buzz phrases like that, but that is exactly what's going on, and it's almost cultivated, and I think that's bad. I think what Far Cry should be is something that they're relegating to this whole Far Cry arcade experience.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think, like, the way that they're writing their stories and their characters, like, doesn't work here, because all it's doing is encouraging us to say, like, when it doesn't work, when it's bad, it just has this built-in criticism of, like, oh, well, nobody cares about it. Well, that's not, I don't know, that's not critical. That's not an excuse. Like, why even have a story at all then? Why have a story and try to make it impactful, which it feels like they're trying to do, and they're just not doing it in a good way. I that is my biggest problem with this game. I am absolutely having a blast minute to minute with it, and I'm probably going to go home and play some more tonight. Well, I just wish that...
I don't quite understand the whole, the world doesn't make sense to you.
Okay, so, I mean... You are a sheriff's deputy, a nameless sheriff's deputy,
yes,
whose character
By the way,
created,
let me just say, I think the first...
Which I hate.
I think the initial setup of this game is one of my favorites in the entire series.
I did enjoy it.
Even if the overarching story falls apart, I think, the opening moments of this game hooked me faster than any other entry in the series.
But what I mean is, what I mean when I say this world doesn't make sense is that this game wants to set itself in a place that is, in popular culture right now, a kind of setting and a kind of story that should have a certain amount of social discussion around it, but it doesn't want to engage with any of that.
I get that.
I mean, it Montana, we're told that everybody here in Montana is a fucking doomsday prepper.
Well, everyone in this area,
and that's part of the game is that there's all these doomsday prepper bunkers around the area that we're trying to find and get into.
But there are other places and people doing things in the world that aren't doomsday preppers or.
But I mean, it's talking about a fundamentalist Christian cult in a small town fundamentalist quote unquote flyover state community, but it's ignoring a lot of dynamics and aspects about what make those communities what they are, that are kind of messy, because it just doesn't want to deal with the mess. So why do you set your story in a place that is so sociopolitically messy if you are completely uninterested in controversy?
No, I
know what I'm saying? Why does this game take place in Montana? Why does this game take place that's
I think
in any setting that is supposed to be evocative of a daily political discussion that we are having in this country, if it has absolutely no interest in engaging in that?
So I think the reason they chose Montana is because there are other states, and I guess they could have honestly chosen any of those states that no one really cares about in that area.
I feel like they chose it for the scenery.
Yeah, well, no, scenery is part of it, but it's also because
there's no rule that says that the setting of a Far Cry game has to be a real place.
No, correct. No. It doesn't.
But there is a rule of the Far Cry franchise that it has to be an exotic locale in which your character has no hope of support and you're on your own.
Well, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Is the thing is, hold on, if you can't do a Far Cry game in Boston. You can't. That wouldn't make sense.
Or something
You can literally do a Far Cry game anywhere.
So hold on. So yes, you could, but then it wouldn't make sense to have in this scenario where I guess they probably I don't know what came first, Montana or the cult. I don't know which one came first. But I don't think you could have a cult leader has taken over an area and all of the people there are on his side, and we have no hopes of getting people in there to help you. In the middle of fucking Austin, that wouldn't make sense to me. That wouldn't that area wouldn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? I think they chose Montana because you have the ability to have these wide open spanses of where there is essentially nothing, or farmland, or a couple of barns or cabins or whatever.
A place that is essentially an island on land.
But no. They picked a place that also has a certain political connotation to it that they wanted to engage in when selling the game. To answer Joseph's question in chat, why do I think that this game has a responsibility to have the conversation that I want it to have, is because they cashed in on it to sell the game. If they didn't bring up the subject, then I don't think that would be something that's relevant to the discussion. But they're the ones who decided to make this about conservative Christian cults in the middle of the American heartland in a time where all we're talking about is conservatism, Christianity, and the American heartland, with like very real political discussions. So why do you choose to do that sort of thing, especially as an outsider, if you are going to not just not engage with it, but be absolutely deliberate in your attempts to steer away from that conversation? I mean, they have little plot devices that make absolutely no sense other than to distance themselves from any sort of implication of anybody that might exist in the real world, such as the drug bliss. The only reason bliss exists is to give some kind of excuse as to why these people would be doing this. Not because they're, racist or bigoted, but because they're under the influence of some kind of crazy video game drug. You know what I'm saying? Like don't start the conversation and then ignore it, is all I'm saying.
No, I agree. I mean, honestly, my biggest disappointment was when I realized bliss was a thing in this game.
Yeah,
it felt
I wish it wasn't
and
there.
Felt like they kind of chickened out at the last second of talking about making the statement they wanted to make about the game.
I think Far Cry 2 made more of a political statement about its supposed setting and the conflicts involved therein than Far Cry 5 is. Far Cry 5 is not only not talking about it, it is doing everything it can to go in the opposite direction of it. That's just where I'm sitting.
That is true.
Let me get these two things out here about the
I
story.
agree that might not be what a Far Cry game is for, but I didn't tell them to do this. The designers, the guys who make Far Cry, decided to do this.
Fuck those guys.
I'm just saying, if you're going to lean on that kind of stuff, if you're gonna lean on that sort of topicality to sell your game, then you deserve to get dinged for it if you're not going to engage with it, is all I'm saying. If you're going to set that standard for yourself and then not live up to it, then yeah, sure, you're going to get dinged for it.
Okay, and I completely agree with you, but we also want to talk about some of the actual elements of the game itself, right? You have something you want to say?
Like, I wanted to mention 2 points. That as far as the narrative not making sense, it's not about the cult. It's about the theme of what a Far Cry game is supposed to be versus the actual logical sense of the location. Because there is a mission early on in the game that you can choose to do in which you go rescue a pilot and steal his plane back from the cultists, and the end of the mission is him trying to get his 9-month pregnant wife onto the plane so he could fly him out of there. Yeah. But he chooses instead to stay behind with her and fight the cultists. Like, the entire first hour of the game is basically all your allies trying to get you to leave fucking Hope County and get help from the fucking National Guard and everything they can do. Like, this is set in Montana. Montana has a state National Guard.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about one specific, magazine ad or commercial or trailer that they put out. I mean, look at the fucking cover of the game. There is a lot of prescient, evocative imagery in every inch of this game. I mean, the setting, the nature of the cult itself, there is a dense layer of subtext to all of this, and I mean, you can't ignore that. And you can't just ignore that and be like, oh well, I mean, this game could have come out at any time. No, this is pretty much a product of its time.
I think it is. I think everything you're saying is spot on. I think it is kind of a shame that they lean so hard on that in the marketing, because if that didn't exist, I feel like if all that marketing and all that
I'm just saying, if you want
pretense they set up didn't exist,
there might have been a better plan from day one. If what they're telling us is that they're really committed to creating a fun, engaging playground, fluff, no consequences kind of experience, and I absolutely get that. I agree with that, and I really think that is a direction that Far Cry should go. But I mean, even if it was based on David Koresh, Joseph, I mean, there's still a lot of messy politics surrounding that is very, very particular to America and American culture.
Okay, I think we kind of have to.
I'm just saying,
chat for a bit.
I mean,
we're talking.
We're talking too much to chat, I guess.
Yeah,
no, I'm just engaging in the points that he's bringing up.
Yeah, okay. I mean, whatever. The other thing I wanted to say was that I'm really disappointed in the decision to go from a named character with a background, with a motivation and everything, to this custom character that you created that has no relationship with the villain.
That matters
So,
in this instance.
No, I say it does, because in 3, 4, and Primal, you had an established character who had motivations and goals.
But none of them are memorable.
I disagree. I think AJ Golly and Pagan Men
AJ Golly
was
would
a
be the-
really
would be the-
good character dynamic there.
But like when I think about why I love Far Cry 4, I don't think about AJ Golly necessarily. Even though I think
that-
he's
is
probably
that the character's
that's
name?
the main character.
I mean, AJ,
His motivations
purpose-
in that game were pretty decent.
His
But-
motivations in 4 were to take his dead mother's ashes back to her homeland.
Okay, I do remember that now.
And he gets
that was cool. And I'm not. I agree there. I think.
I mean,
I think the
a
general
starting
setup-
motivation does not equal like
Well,
a
so hold- yeah,
character,
hold on.
characterization or an arc.
To
or
Crispy's
anything.
point, that I think the problem is this is not The Last of Us. You know, this is not a story-driven game. The series has never really been. Yes, there generally has always been a story to the game, but it's one of those scenarios where you do a story beat and then you fucking run off in the world for fucking 5 hours doing nothing that regards to the story at all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then there's another story beat.
I mean-
and so I honestly kind
But
of
that
like.
actually, but the way the game is structured now, that actually has an impact on the way the story proceeds.
Why
the
is
way
that?
it starts. Because the way that the world is structured is that the random events that happen in the game actually proceed in building the resistance and actually activating these story events.
But still, why does building a resistance against this guy who you're trying to stop? Why do you have to do anything? Why do you have to have some sort of relationship with him? Why can't it just be like you are, an officer of the law? You came in there to stop him. Shit went bad. The people in this town, there are some of them who disagree with him, and you're going to try and get those people to help you to bring him down because they know he's bad, and it's your fucking job. That's your connection.
No, and I
to him.
understand that, but this is the previous 3 games established a character, it
But that's
established
the
a
previous
villain,
3 games. It doesn't have
and
to
they
do the same
build a
thing every
relationship
time.
between the two.
What I like about the
I
setup
don't
of
even
this
know
game.
that I necessarily agree with that, but okay.
What I really like about the setup of this game is how simple it actually is. I love like the introduction of the game where you're flying in a helicopter. You have the sheriff of the town. You're the deputy. They've brought in a federal marshal, and they're going in to serve a warrant to the leader of this cult. Mm-hmm. The marshal clearly doesn't really realize how fucking bad it is.
Yeah.
Goes in. He's like a headstrong, like, I'm the law, they've got to respect me, that kind of thing. And of course shit goes wrong. They realize no small team is going to be able to go in and infiltrate.
He should have known from the beginning when, as the helicopter's flying around, they pass like the fucking statue of Joseph Seed. That's like the fucking Statue of Liberty in the middle of Montana.
Yeah.
Like this 300-foot tall statue out in the middle of nowhere.
Another aspect of Far Cry has always been like just this boisterous, like loud exaggeration of reality. Like all these worlds are just like kind of fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
The
Yeah,
villains are fantastical.
That's fine. That's great.
There was a Hollywood-sized sign that says "Yes" way in the hills. Yeah,
That's Far Cry.
That's a good style for this game to affect. I'm just saying that when they want to lean on trapping, like when they want to lean on stuff that is, hot button and very very topical,
They lost
and,
their nerve.
and they deviate from that. And we point out, like, hey, we know what dangerous murder cults look like in this country. They don't look like Joseph Seed's cult.
Yeah, that's
Joseph
true.
Seed's cult looks like a video gaming cult that wants to be...
It does look pretty insane.
That wants to, like, I don't know, trick us into thinking there's something deeper going on by making it topical, but doesn't actually have anything to contribute to that conversation. It's just leaning on it for entertainment value, which, I mean, again, it is very entertaining. I'm loving the game. Don't get me wrong, but this is a worthwhile conversation to have about games, because if we're going to consider this an art form, if we're going to consider games criticism, we can't just back away from this conversation with, oh, it's a game, it's supposed to be fun every time it comes up.
No, I completely agree.
Whose footage is this? They
It's-
died like 5
I know,
times.
it's-
Why don't they restart
Guys,
the footage?
can I
Dude, you die so many fucking times.
so
in
that's
this
the thing
game.
about this
I
game.
can't even stay
It
on a road
is so
now.
much. It is so
Like,
much harder than any other
Oh my
Far Cry
God,
games.
it's annoying.
The time to kill for an enemy versus your time to kill, it's been dramatically reduced.
Guys, I don't even think it's an issue of like
I don't know.
disparity
I haven't
between your
died
health
once
and the
in
enemy's
this game.
dude.
You just get
the
swamped.
problem with this game, like the one glaring issue I have with this game, outside of stuff we've kind of already talked about, is I think they haven't really had this problem since Far Cry 2. I don't know why they constantly double back to this, but like, you can't walk down a road for 5 seconds without a fucking car coming
There's
around the corner.
so many enemies coming
Wanting
out
to
of every
murder you.
corner.
There is, not to mention, like, you can't imagine there's that many people in this like area that could be part of this cult while still having other people that aren't part of the cult, right? Like, it's just like thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Like, I like one reason I really like Primal is because you could run from like so far and like maybe see one or two dudes, and when you ran into someone, it was like a thing. It was like, yes, okay, and a counter. This game, I can't walk 2 feet without running into
a lot of dudes.
It makes for like a constant like loop of fun, which is great. But you're right, I am dying a lot more, and it does kind of feel it adds to the unrealistic feeling of the game because there's so many fucking encounters.
they even play into that for some of the story missions. Like the way the progression of this game's story goes is that you do story missions, and you also do side objectives, which actually contribute to an overall resistance score.
Yes.
And at certain segments of that score in a region, an event happens and starts the next main story sequence.
Yes.
So, for example, you'll do a couple story missions, and then you'll take over a couple outposts. And when those were like previously side objectives that didn't need to be done, now these actually count towards the progression of the game.
Like it triggered that one where you get captured by the it triggers like they sent like a search party to find you or something, and then it triggers this thing where you get captured.
Yeah,
and
you're marked by the cult.
Yeah,
and so they send out these dudes that are loaded with bliss bullets.
I hate that. Oh my god, that's happened to me twice now, where they've been like, "You're marked."
Yeah.
Send in the bliss bullets, and they shoot you with special bullets that like knock you out.
You knock out, you wake up, and
so
there's
they can
the
take
next
you to a
story section.
cutscene.
yeah,
Like,
that's my least favorite part.
oh my god, so.
But can we focus on some of the good?
I think it's really interesting that they decided to make these little mini side events like blowing up the cultist truck convoy or these random things count towards the progression of the game. When previously I did everything I could to avoid them once I was done with those challenges.
How have I not gotten to that yet? I've played this game for like 9 hours. How am I not to like bliss bullets and shit?
It might be depending on the region you go to.
Or once you get like certain resistance levels in a region, then they
are you in the
they advance. The story.
I'm in the southwest.
That's where I am.
Okay, you're in John
There's
Seed's
probably
territory.
there's probably an invisible checklist somewhere, and you just haven't checked off all the boxes.
Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of shit in this game.
Yeah, it's just you probably have to do a very specific set of things. The thing is,
have y'all done the mission where you hunt the bears?
Yes.
The ones on Bliss.
Have y'all found the
Have
y'all found
Jesus.
the P-tape yet?
I found the P-tape.
I did the P-tape mission yesterday.
So I did the P-tape mission.
What's the P-tape mission?
It's basically it's a spoof.
So there's a CIA
It's a
agent.
topical reference
Yes.
to current political climates in America.
Yes.
So there's a CIA
Interesting.
agent. His name is Will Huntley.
Yep.
He's really a Will Huntley. He's been in all the games since 3,
Yes.
except for Primal, obviously.
No, he's in Primal.
He is? Fucking really?
I mean, like,
oh my god.
he is. There's a character that is a obvious stand-in for that character.
But he's a CIA agent that always fucks you over every single game. And he takes you, the deputy, and you go track down this guy who is in hiding with the cult and has a tape of evidence about a certain individual high up in the American government that we cannot talk about. But let's just say it's very important that we get this tape.
Yeah, the best part about this mission is that while he's giving you the mission, they don't expressly tell you what's on the tape, but he keeps making jokes about, like, he keeps saying, not jokes, but he keeps saying things like code words like for the mission, like, he's like, the bed has been wet, the bed has been wet. And then he makes reference to the Yellow Brick Road, and this is not a wet works mission, and like all these references, you're like, This is the
it took me a little while to understand that.
And the guy you're tracking down is Russian.
Yeah,
yeah.
There was a while it took me to get it because he's like, "This is not a wet works mission," and I'm like, "But I'm killing dudes. Like, what is he talking about?"
But you're supposed to be stealthy about it.
No, I know. But yeah, it wasn't until I think I actually picked up the VHS that I realized like what it was.
Oh, just this.
So as soon as the mission completed, I immediately turned around, shot him in the head, and just ran the fuck away.
Nice.
Oh, did it let you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You can do that to any character in the game.
Yeah, you can.
They will go
attack
down.
people. Yeah.
You can do that to Boomer.
Oh, why would you do that?
Yeah,
I didn't
what
say
a
you
fucking
should.
asshole.
I didn't say you should.
I mean,
You can
fuck
do
this
that. You
guy.
can do that to Cheeseburger.
All right.
I don't recommend doing that to Cheeseburger.
before we get, we need to move on. I do want to. I am having a lot of fun with this game, a lot. I do share some disappointment in the fact that I feel like they kind of lost their nerve when it came to
a little
addressing the topics
They
that
didn't
they seem
have
to
any to begin with.
If I
it's funny
turn my
because
brain off,
when you read like their like development diaries and stuff about from when they first started like talking about this game and doing research and shit, it certainly sounded like they were going like shooting for the fences as far as
a little bit.
political. But then like a year passed, or not a year, like 7 or 8 months between when they were talking about that stuff very openly and then the release of the game, and they got kind of quiet about it, and then when we came out, it really wasn't that, which was really unfortunate. But like, I'm having a ton of fun with this game.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. I think the Far Cry arcade stuff is a great addition.
Oh yeah,
I've only played like one or two. I've only played one or two of
Holy
those missions,
shit.
and they were Ubisoft ones. But it was interesting to see what could be done with that.
they've already created the Baker's estate from Resident Evil 7.
I saw that.
what? That's cool.
Also, a couple things like I thought it's. I mean, I guess Far Cry's always been this way. But
One more thing before you start like talking about. My other huge complaint with this is that they got rid of the gyrocopter.
Yeah,
But like gyrocopter was the best part about 4, and don't tell me that the helicopter is an adequate replacement, because the best part about the gyrocopter was being able to just like drop bombs on people and shit. You can't do that from the helicopter.
But like one thing I love about every Far Cry is that they never say, okay, we had this in this last game, we have to do it here. Like usually it's like it's gone, but it's usually like because not necessarily because they think they're gonna replace with something that's equal or of equal value, but like they're gonna do what makes sense, and they're gonna like try and come up with something, come up with something equally as exciting for each game. I
disagree.
Kind of a big deal in this game is like planes. Like within 10 minutes of starting this game, I found a plane. And I was like, do I need to learn about to fly this or anything?
You're telling
and
me,
I just got in the plane.
You're telling me
off.
that it makes sense that in this world everybody's a doomsday prepper, and that the doomsday preppers were right, and also that when the shit hit the fan, none of them were in their bunkers.
Wait, what do you mean we're right?
I mean, like the whole like kind of subtext of the game is that like, thank God there's all these doomsday prepper bunkers around the area so that I can go get supplies to help me fight the cult.
Yeah.
Like they were preparing exactly for a scenario like this, and then like none of them are around.
Yeah, none of the actual...
All the bunkers are, like, unused and abandoned.
Yeah.
This world doesn't make sense.
Well,
it doesn't
There's
not make
one.
sense for there to be gyrocopters.
There is one bunker that's occupied, but that's part of the story at the very beginning of the game.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, I guess that's
It's
true.
Dutch. So...
Well, thanks, Chris Davis. We got it.
I mean, that's a really disingenuous deflection, Joseph. I mean, seriously.
This is why
We can't...
How's the co-op?
We can have serious discussions
it.
about
No,
games.
I don't think
That's kind of the whole point.
Okay.
See,
All right, let's move on then.
Let's
That's
move
Far
on.
Cry 5.
It's a really fun game.
It's fun. It's got some
I'm
flaws
sure we'll have
to it.
more to say about it in the coming weeks.
here's the thing. Like, I agree with everything you say about the disingenuous nature of their marketing, but like, and maybe the missed opportunity it came to like addressing these evocative topics. But like, I still really enjoy.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, I'm saying
those two things can exist
but
simultaneously.
like, I still enjoy the story for what it is, even though it's not necessarily what I wanted or hoped
Fine.
it would be.
And I don't. I mean, that's okay.
Also, if you choose to have a female protagonist,
Which I did.
like I did,
Same as I.
And we all did.
we all did.
Nice.
We can't help it.
Ladies unite.
Yeah, ladies unite. Like,
I was gonna.
is
do
it
that.
me or do when you go to do those torture scenes, they feel a little rapey?
Which torture scene? Oh, you mean where you're being tortured?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I
that's
haven't
just
gotten there.
That's just contextual. You picked a woman, so I guess it's gonna feel a little like
Men
that.
can be raped too, Chris
Yeah,
Davis.
I mean, yeah, sure. I know.
It's a fact.
But they're evil, Chris Davis.
They are evil.
Man,
Like, they get very angry and staple
This has been a very
pieces
mentally
of flesh
exhausting-
against
You
the
know,
wall.
you know what? I'm looking for a way out of this conversation.
it's been a very
You are.
This has been a very mentally exhausting podcast.
Perhaps
for me.
we should talk about
Took way too long
this
for that.
game.
A Way Out. Hey, Nick, you and I played A Way
did
Out
play a way out
to its completion.
to its completion.
Anything on this game?
Turns out, Nick was a dirty criminal.
Wait, what the fuck? You? Oh my god.
You both were dirty criminals.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Wait,
we're
like
in prison.
dirty as in you rolled through like
This is
500
like a-
yards of shit?
This is like so hard for me to like switch gears in my head.
All right, Nick. Well, let's start with this. Nick and I played A Way Out.
Yes.
This is a completely co-op game. You play literally 96% of the game is split screen.
Yep.
And
where
the
you
co-op is mandatory.
correct.
This is the fuck the Oscars game.
Yes. Fuck EA. Fuck the Oscars.
But evidently the Oscars aren't the actual awards. They're the people that made the game.
There are lots of Oscars that worked on this game.
That's true. So yeah, you play from two different perspectives. Literally, most of the time, the game is often split screen. And the cool thing about it is it's not always 50-50. Whoever is doing the more important thing will take over more of the screen. So it might be like 30-70, 20-80 sometimes even, which can get kind of frustrating when you're the 20 and it's like, God damn it, I can't see anything. But I did enjoy the time. Now, I will say the game was a little bit on the short side. Nick and I, like 6 hours about?
6 hours. But to be honest, like, I was kind of ready for it to be.
Well, hold on. That's an element of the game and the story. I think you probably could have made this game slightly different and had it been more enjoyable for a longer period of time. But
here's why I was kind of disappointed in this game.
Okay, what's up?
This game is called Way Out. It was marketed as a fucking escape from prison game.
Yep.
You are out of prison by the end of the first act of the game, and the rest of the game is just...
I guess so. The first act is
you're
split
on the
into
run,
like
I guess?
4 or 5 chapters, but yeah, the first act is you
Chapters are pretty
finding
short
a way out of prison.
Like, but you're maybe in prison for like a third of this game at most.
But like, maybe there's like an overarching theme about escaping?
I mean, yeah.
Later on in the game?
It is more than... Hold on. So I will agree.
Way out is kind of vague.
It is a vague term, and it is referring to more than just a way out of prison. I will agree with
Deputy
that.
Dangle in chat is right. In the trailers, you do see them outside of prison. But, like, man, if you're going to, like... You see, like, bits and pieces of them outside of prison. You see things happening outside of prison. But, like, I wasn't expecting to get to those pieces within the first third of the fucking game.
Yeah.
The game takes a lot of inspiration from obvious things like maybe the Shawshank Redemption. I think is a big
excessive.
Well, I mean, when you're in prison, as soon as you're out, obviously not so much. But
yeah, but like the thing is, after you get out of prison, I feel like a lot of the things that make this game unique and interesting and noteworthy, I feel like kind of
have no point,
dissipate, drift away. It just kind of becomes like a generic like cooperative shooter.
I did have
like it becomes a shooter at some point, and the shooting isn't that great.
I did have fun on the farm locking up those old people and doing their chores for them.
Yeah, there was a really cool sequence where you escape from prison and you come across. You're trying to obviously find a ride, or whatever. You come across a farm, and there's an old couple that lives in the farm, and you knock them out, you tie them up, you lock them in a closet, and then you could just go out to their barn, take their car, and drive away, or
Nick and I spent like half an hour.
We spent like we probably spent
maybe
45 minutes to an hour exploring this like farm, doing their chores. Like Nolan did their dishes.
I washed their dishes.
We went out to their. We played horseshoes in their barn.
We fucking did a duet on the piano and the banjo.
Yeah, like there's like a whole mini game where you're playing the banjo and the
it's
piano.
It's like Guitar
and
Hero.
Man,
and all the while they're locked in the barn.
Is it possible that if you would have done these chores for them, they would just given you the keys?
That's what I was hoping, but they were still pretty angry.
But like, you know, that was. I
mean, you knocked them out.
I didn't knock them out. We just walked into their home and we were like, "Excuse me, we are going to tie you up now, and we are going to put you in this closet." We didn't hurt them. We didn't pull a gun on them. We're just like, "You're now going in the closet, and we are going to take your car."
And the thing is, like, after that moment, I think
still illegal.
Yeah.
I think after that moment,
I think breaking out of prison was a little more illegal than that.
Both crimes.
That's true.
After that moment of stealing the car, leaving the farm, the game kind of ceases to feel like a prison break game, and it suddenly becomes about just two criminals on the road together. It turns into a bit of a shooter. It continues to do some cool stuff like with the split screen co-op stuff. Which is cool. There's a particularly cool sequence in like a hospital where you're both running around. You're both trying to escape, like because the authorities have found you. And you're trying to take different pathways, or whatever. And like Nolan said, it's constantly like shifting back and forth between like 80-20 perspectives and whatnot. And that stuff is really cool. And like it's going in the way it goes into like melee combat, and like it has some really cool cinematic fight scenes which feel really nice.
I'll tell you what.
But then at some point it just turns into straight up like you're holding machine guns, you're running around, you're taking cover, and you're shooting, and that stuff is bad. I don't think that shooting felt good at all.
The shooting's not great. Okay. I will say, I hope your finger is really good at tapping square really fast.
There's a lot of mini games that involve rapidly tapping square, including when you're in the prison yard, you're doing like pull-ups and whatnot. And
you're also doing
that shit
dips.
is hard. Like, cause like you have to do 20 pull-ups, right? And you're doing like the first 5 or 6, and it's totally easy. But as you keep going, it keeps getting harder and harder and harder. And by the time we get to like 17 or 18, like we're sitting here like tapping as hard as we can, and we can't get the circle to fill up.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So are we talking like Metal Gear Solid 4 microwave?
Worse.
Really?
Yes. More difficult than
Shit.
that.
It's tough. But
I
yeah,
fucking hated that.
it does some really cool stuff, cooperatively speaking, and
Like this is a prime example. If you're watching the footage, Nick and myself, I am Vincent. Nick is Leo. We are trying to break out of
a
our
fact
prison
of which
cells.
I forgot several times.
Nick did, because the characters are not memorable whatsoever.
Breaking
But-
out using the world's worst toilet.
Oh yeah, so we have a chisel, and we're trying to break out of the from behind the toilet. We're trying to like open the panel that's behind it.
There's no piping.
Correct. Well, I mean, yeah, not really.
Let's not talk about the toilet piping.
Yeah. We're trying to break out. The thing is, the guards are doing the rotations. They're doing the rounds. They're walking around. And so one guy's on the lookout. The other guy's, chiseling away. And you kind of got to warn each other. Like, the nice thing is you're sitting next to each other, so it's fairly easy. But you can optionally distract the guard by striking up a conversation with them. Oh, hey, I'm feeling cold. Or, hey, when's the next visitor's
How
day?
much you get paid?
Exactly. So it's kind of like you can buy them more time to progress in their trying to break out of the cell.
And you have to communicate and be like, oh, he's moving again, and you have
Yeah.
to stop and move the toilet back into its place. Like, that stuff's really cool. I thought the game was gonna be more of this.
Yeah.
I thought this game was gonna build to like the climax would be like, oh, you escaped from prison.
Yeah.
And like that,
You
like, the
found
whole-
a way out.
Yeah, like found a way out of prison, and that was going to kind of be it. I also kind of like at the beginning of the game, and I started to kind of see learn more about these characters, and they do some flashback stuff, like before they were in prison, how they ended up there, and like in my head, I was like, I think I know where this is going. Totally right. I think the writing in this game is like super predictable
It was a little bland.
and kind of forgettable. Like it's funny because the whole thing was like predicated on like fuck the Oscars. Like it's funny. It's like this wouldn't win any Oscars.
Yeah.
The story is kind of forgettable and very predictable, but mechanically speaking, the stuff they do with the co-op and the split screen, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't think this
the
tops-
mechanics of this game, like conceptually, are great.
There's a really cool idea at the end involving like the final quote unquote boss, which in the context of playing a co-op game
Is each other.
is
Well, I'm kind of.
I mean, spoilers? Yeah,
Thanks for
kinda.
spoiling the game.
Fucking hell!
predictable. Am I right? But
No,
you know what?
I was doing like the conviction reference from Splinter Cell.
Mechanically
okay.
speaking, it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game, the story. I mean, what do you mean to tell you? It's predictable.
Yeah.
You said it. I just confirmed it. That's all I'm saying.
I
It's
will
a
say
cool idea.
the nice thing about this game is the fact that it bless you. It is couch co-op. I think there is online as well, but I really did like playing it couch co-op.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun with couch co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with the online co-op is that the other player doesn't need to copy the game.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is
They
the
just
other.
download like the client and you're
That
good.
is the other good thing about this game is the fact that they did recognize that not everyone has to buy it. I mean, you can share it with other people and stuff like that, and I like that concept. And like I said, overall, I did enjoy the time we spent with the game. I'm definitely not going to replay it. I don't. The replayability of this game is negligible.
I mean, it seems like a one and done.
Kind of. I mean, there is.
This is. I still think their other project, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, is probably a vastly
I
superior.
mean, the thing about Brothers, other than the fact that it was a co-op game, but not that you played with thumbsticks. Like it was a voiceless.
It was
game.
a co-op game that you played by yourself.
It was a voiceless fantasy game that had you take into increasingly more fantastical
And
areas,
far
worlds.
more
Emotional.
narratively rewarding in Brothers. I feel.
A Way Out is a far cry from Brothers.
We can go back to talking about Far Cry.
No, please let's never again. All right, let's move on. We got some news to talk about. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Is everybody comfortable moving on to news?
Please.
All right, we're gonna go through these quickly because we still got questions to answer. And this is
It's already 12:30
what?
on the East Coast.
Oh, on the East Coast. Yes, thank you. All right, we're gonna rattle these news topics off fairly quickly.
Starting with this one.
Starting with this one, this was today.
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Faction
Yeah.
Guerilla Re-MARS-tered. Re-MARS-tered is coming to consoles and PC in 2018. That's a
pretty
gross
But
play on
fuck,
words.
I'm looking forward to the co-op of
But
that
you know
game.
what?
Butt
Red
fuck?
Faction Guerrilla is pretty dope, and I'm sure this makes Brad happy. This is a game I would love to replay at some point. Still has some of the best destruction out there. So yeah, I'd love to play
The
this game.
Ostrich Hammer.
Ostrich Hammer was
That was
great.
amazing.
Hell yes, I will definitely play this if it gets good.
The thing is, they weren't specific about who's doing this remaster.
Nope.
I don't think it's Volition.
Well, no, it's
Oh,
THQ
yeah.
Nordic now. They own.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
I mean, they
probably
may
one
own the
of
license, but they could just license it out to Volition to do.
In
their- possible,
theory, but
probably unlikely.
the thing is, it's not like they're making a new game based on it. They're literally just remastering an already
Yeah.
existing game. I don't want to say it's not a hard job, but I mean, it's kind of you don't exactly have to have a creative mind to do it.
Yeah. Next. All right. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves has been officially deemed Microsoft's most successful new IP of this generation.
That's crazy.
There's a very specific keyword here of this generation.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, Microsoft's had a really
Are they
hard
referring
time.
to the post-launch of the Xbox Scorpio?
No,
Xbox
I think
One
this
X?
is
Okay.
strictly speaking Xbox One and PS4
Okay.
generation. This is their biggest, most successful new IP of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like Crispy said earlier, I don't think that's saying a whole lot. Microsoft's really struggled with new IP this generation.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I think they at one point, and they were really good at that kind of thing. And now Sony is just completely dominating in that department. I think they're even being outclassed by Nintendo probably in terms of new IP. Well,
Nintendo's always had a better IP catalog.
Oh, I mean, I guess
All they had to do was
but we're
reach
talking-
into their back
We're
catalog.
talking about new IP, so yeah.
Yeah,
Microsoft-
new
like,
IP
all they
wise.
had to do was come out with Splatoon. Like, I wouldn't say ARMS is like their best new IP of the generation.
Well, like
but,
I often struggle to think of new IP coming out of Microsoft this generation. It's few and far
well,
between.
again, part of that problem is fucking Don Matrick and the early Xbox design ideas.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? No one needs if you don't have an internet connection, just get one.
Oh my god.
If you
That just
yeah,
reminded-
we have
that
a
just
product for you.
brought-
It's called the 360.
That just brought me right back to man.
Fuck that.
Good
guy.
on Jeff Keighley for that fucking response. Like,
All right.
really? That's your answer. Whew, that was a great moment. I'm sorry. Anyways.
but yeah, then it takes several years for them to actually start ramping these things up, and I think we'll probably start seeing those maybe this
I hope
year.
so. I mean, they had a really great lineup at E3 at their press conference last year. They had 42 new games that they showed off, and that was really exciting. I mean, not a whole lot of that. I don't think a lot of that was like new IP,
Yeah.
Also, not all that was exclusive.
and not all that was exclusive. But they did show off 42 new games, and it was a really fun press conference to watch.
Yeah.
So I hope that changes. But yeah, Sea of Thieves is their most successful new IP. It's kind of it's weird to think Rare's a big studio. Has a lot of name recognition, a lot of
It has
good-
a lot of name recognition, but all those old names are gone.
yeah, and that's kind of the unfortunate thing. Rare is a great studio, but Sea of Thieves could turn into something really great. It's just I'm kind of surprised that this has kind of been the thing that's been their. I mean, what was the last new IP they even had? We can't think. We can't think about that right now.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on to the next one. So EA is hiring new talent for an open world Star Wars game at Vancouver Studios, and this is actually that Star Wars game from Visceral.
Can
that
I
was
work from
repurposed.
Austin?
Maybe.
I mean, it might. I mean,
This is-
Bioware Austin.
This is, but that they focus on
Yeah.
MMOs.
Yeah, but they also do support for other studios.
Here's what I'm really. So this is that game that was repurposed that was originally being worked on by Visceral.
Correct.
It's being worked on by EA Vancouver. They're confirming it. I mean, it's an open world game. They wanted to go for something that was more open.
Mm-hmm.
The one they were working on before was kind of a very linear story focused game, and I guess they want to go in a different direction. I don't really know how you do an open world game in the Star Wars universe because open world is.
You'll
Well,
probably
you kinda do
probably
the
fly to a
KOTOR.
planet, do a couple of things, and then fly to another planet.
It'll be segmented open world,
Like
smaller,
like
but
Dragon Age. They'll Dragon Age it.
or again KOTOR.
Yeah.
Or KOTOR. But yeah, so the one confusing thing, every time I read it, I've read several articles about this particular game and this the hiring they're doing, and they keep talking about they're hiring for online talent. But no one, they're not saying it's an MMO, but they're surely describing it like it might be an MMO, and it's really freaking me out. I don't know whether to be excited or not be excited, or I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this project. now.
There are so few purely offline single player games anymore. It's probably just online integration.
It's definitely
for
going to have a multiplayer
selling
component.
you fucking in-game currency, or
Loot
shit.
boxes.
but
Fucking Far Cry 5 has in-game currency you can buy.
That's what I
True.
forgot to bring up, the whole silver bar thing and
true,
stuff.
but
yeah.
that is still that's still a single player game.
But you also don't have to buy it.
It just sounds like they're kind of I still don't know how to feel about Anthem. Like I don't know what that fucking game is or what kind of experience it is, and I feel like they're just kind of going to do the same thing to Star Wars.
It's Destiny.
Yeah,
there's no mystery around what Anthem's gonna.
But like now, I feel like they're turning Star Wars into another Destiny, or another Anthem. And, like,
it's EA. If anybody was gonna do something like that, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But like the funny thing is, like they're in the news recently. We didn't really talk about it on the show last week, but like there's a lot of there's a lot of concern around the state of Anthem right now, and like whether that game is coming together or whether it's going to come out, or it's just. They don't even know if they have a successful Destiny clone yet, and now they're already talking about doing the same thing to Star Wars. It just seems it seems like they don't know what the fuck to do with the Star Wars franchise, and they're taking a lot of maybe unnecessary risk. I mean, no, to answer your question in chat, Anthem has not been canceled, but there has been some concern.
There's been some departures. I think like the lead game designer actually passed away.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if that's
tragic.
probably not going to have much impact on whether the game comes out or not. But
I mean, Casey Hudson joined to direct the project, but after the other senior Bioware guy left, at the same time,
did Casey Hudson leave again, or he's still on the project?
No,
I don't know.
He came back to take over the project.
Oh, Casey Hudson's better than Casey Affleck.
True.
As far as game design, yes.
Although
we haven't tested him, so we don't know.
Has anybody seen...
We don't know for certain.
Yeah, never mind.
Yep,
I'm not going to go down that path. Anyways, just wanted to bring that up. I'm a little concerned, but they are hiring for Star Wars open world project. All right, next news topic.
El próximo es...
Dragon Quest XI is coming to the West on September 4th. Two things about this. One, I haven't really paid much attention to this because I wasn't sure if it was going to be localized. I was sure it probably was, but I wasn't, it wasn't confirmed. It has now been confirmed. Coming to the West. They released a new trailer for it. Holy fucking shit, that game looks amazing.
It does look pretty good.
Like, as far as just, like, the visual style and, like, the world and the music, like, everything, that game looks fucking amazing.
Are they still sticking with the Akira Toriyama art style?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but, like, it looks more... Like, it's weird. It's kind of hard to describe.
It's kind of,
It's definitely Akira Toriyama, but, like, the world itself just looks so much better now. The other part of the story is it looks like the DS version, because remember, that game in Japan, they released the same game on PS4 and DS, or 3DS. But obviously 3DS had a very different art style, so you can play it kind of like the same game, but like with a more retro art style.
Yeah.
That version apparently is not being localized for the US, which
cool.
kind of sucks.
That may not be a bad
it's
thing.
not, or it is?
It's not.
Oh,
apparently. I mean,
I
don't know if that's been 100% confirmed yet, but there's talk that it's not going to be localized. Kind of sucks. I mean, I don't know what benefit I would have gotten from playing the same game twice on two different systems.
I mean, you would choose.
I would definitely. 100%
I think
choose
Japan, the console of choice is much more widespread and varied. Yeah. Versus here, more people are going to prefer a home console.
I think the DS version would be really cool, but like when you look at the PS4 version, you're like, God damn, I'm going for that one.
I mean, I would say the 3DS is on its way out in the US, and that the Switch is the new hotness for portable. And so
if they were putting it on Switch, that would be one thing.
But if they were putting it on Switch, it would probably look more. It would look better.
But I think, Nick, it's a cultural thing. I mean, do you spend a couple hours every day on like public transportation?
No.
Because if so, then 3DS game might sound pretty good.
I know, and there's definitely logical reasons. It's just kind of one of those things. Like it would have been cool to like just as an experiment, just to kind of like try it out, the DS version, and see what it's like, which you can technically still do if you
can import it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go through the trouble.
The Asian version might have English subtitles.
I'm just going to play the PS4 version because it looks dope as hell. That's coming out September 4th.
Yep.
I think we have one more news topic.
One más.
Is it one more? Yeah. This is the No Man's Sky. It's coming to Xbox One this year. And there's another major update coming this summer.
Yeah, it's called Next.
So what is... They gave it a name? Like a code name? What is that implying?
That implies it's a really big fucking update.
It's probably the biggest overhaul they've done.
Yeah.
But the one that we talked about a few months ago seemed
Atlas
like it was...
Rising.
Oh, they gave that one a name too. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
That was...
Like, they're not being specific about what the content is.
But Atlas Rising is only like 1.3, so this is going to be like 1.4.
Maybe. Well, maybe 1.5.
Maybe.
I don't know. But, that game seems like it's getting better and better, and that's still a game that I would like to go back and try again one day, because after we talked about it last time, it seemed like it was a vastly improved product.
Nice typo, Chris Davis. Wait, Nick made these. Nice typo, Nick.
Yeah. What did I do?
Coming out Xbox One.
Damn it.
Yeah. See, I'm not the only one that fucks up on these videos, guys.
Alt Xbox One this year? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You know what? Let's just restart the podcast.
Yeah, we should. Just
No,
fucking start it.
we're done with the news.
Welcome to 4Player Podcast, everyone.
Guys,
Actually, we didn't talk about Jurassic World Evolution.
we're not going to. Jurassic
no.
World Evolution is coming out in June.
There was gameplay today, and it looks great.
It does look cool. That's the news. We covered it. There it is. Nolan.
People want to hear you talk about dinosaurs.
They'll hear me
Nick.
talk about dinosaurs after I play the game in June or July. Nolan.
It's the community.
Hell yeah. All right. We got some questions.
We actually have quite a few questions, so let's go through them because there's a lot, and the show's already running way too late. First question this week from our patrons comes from Nexus. And honestly, this is a question we probably answered like 1,000 times, but I will ask it anyway. What are your go-to gaming/movie OSTs for flights or road trips? Bonus points if you can give a shout-out to a particular track.
Ooh, I mean, the thing is, I have like a whole play. Like I have
a gaming playlist,
and I just shuffle it.
Same here.
Mass Effect trilogy, easily.
The only soundtrack for Mass Effect I have is the first one, and that is a great soundtrack.
3 has some great tracks, man.
I mean, it changes.
FTL.
FTL's
Actually,
a damn good one.
my big like working track is Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption is on my rotation as well.
My
Far Away.
Far Away is my favorite.
Oh,
song
that's a
on
pretty
that
good one.
That is a damn good song, damn good moment in that game that it goes to.
Right now, for me, I'm going to put it in my car probably tomorrow. The soundtrack for Far Cry 5.
Oh, that's
Like-
one thing I forgot to mention. I actually really like the soundtrack of Far Cry 5.
It's really well done. The actual produced cultist music is actually surprisingly good.
Which is funny because when I
But
played
like the
Primal,
dynamic world music is fucking spectacular.
when I played Far Cry Primal, and I think with 4, I turned the music off completely. This is the first Far Cry I've played in a long while where I didn't turn the music off, and I think a lot of that has to do with the soundtrack is pretty damn good.
So I will say, you did mention FTL. Rockman Battle specifically is a great soundtrack on that one. Or a great track on that soundtrack. But I will also say, and I will say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times, Dust Force is a fantastic soundtrack. Cedar Time is a pretty good one on that track.
I've actually been listening to the Assassin's Creed Black Flag soundtrack.
That's a good one.
Quite a bit. It's a pretty good one. It has all the shanties on there,
Yeah.
which is great. I don't listen to a lot of soundtracks when I'm driving, like you said, road trips. I don't really listen. I listen to like regular, other music.
Also, a lot of the Jesper Kid music he did for the Assassin's Creed games.
Jesper Kid's pretty good. All right, let's move on. More questions. Mr. Green Toast, what's the worst meal you've ever been served in someone's home? For example, my friend's mother once served us lasagna,
This is so good.
but after we took several odd bites, she told us she didn't have any tomatoes and instead used hot sauce with lots of cilantro.
Come on.
What?
That's not how you substitute tomato sauce.
Yeah,
That's not
weird.
lasagna
Yeah.
at that
Yeah,
point.
why-
That's just not.
You don't make lasagna though.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Oh man, that's a tough question.
I have a horror. Like, this is, first of all, this is not. This is just probably reflective of my taste in food when I was younger. But I went over to a friend's house and his mom made pho.
Pho.
And that was my first time ever having it. Mm-hmm. And I thought it tasted like dirty water. I hated it. It was so gross. Like, it made me gag thinking about it. And then, like, it wasn't until like 10 years later I actually had pho again at like a restaurant. I was like, this is damn good. And I don't know in my head if that was just really bad pho or if I just didn't like pho back then and now I do.
Like what typically goes into pho, like the actual cuts of meat and
Well,
how
there's-
the
I
broth
couldn't
is
even tell you what it
made.
was.
Lots of different
can,
cuts
it
of
can
meat.
vary a lot.
Yeah.
It made me like, oh, just like when the first time I had it, I was like, well, I definitely don't like this. And I don't know. That's the only thing that comes to mind.
Dude, I have a tough time thinking of something that I disliked. Like, I just maybe have either blocked that out of my memory. I mean, when you said that, Nick, I did have one vivid memory of going to someone's house. And they served us, like, ramen. And it was, like, cheap ramen. But they added things to it that you normally wouldn't. That actually made it kind of good. And that was kind of one of the first times I realized that, like, you can add whatever the fuck you want.
Ramen's
like,
just a foundation.
yeah, they added, like, spinach and, like, a couple other weird... I can't remember what it was. Like, some
Graham
carrots.
crackers,
Not graham crackers. Like, stuff that actually works well with it. But it's kind of one of the first times I realized, dude, even if you buy, like, a 99-cent pack of ramen, like, you can actually make that a pretty decent meal by, like, adding whatever you want. I know it's kind of the
99-cent packs
exact...
is like 3
the
meals.
exact opposite of what your question was, but I just can't think of anything negative.
I remember one time when I was a kid, I was at a friend's house and his mom made us like peanut butter jelly sandwiches,
Mm-hmm.
but they use like real like raw organic peanut butter, like the kind where the oil separates out.
Yeah.
And she was like mixing them. She's like, I was like looking at it like, oh, that's weird. Why is that like that? And she's like, oh, it's good. It's even better than normal peanut butter. You're gonna love this.
Lies.
Never trusted that woman again.
Lies and slander.
I do remember one time being at this one people's house, and they were like, "Oh, you're from Texas. Here's some Texas toast. That's what you eat, right?" Fuck you, sci-fi's parents. I'm just kidding. They were delightful people.
Lovely people.
They introduced me to peanut butter and fluff.
Next week, ask the question of
Fluffernutters?
Not fluffernutters.
That's what peanut butter and fluff is.
chat. Next week,
Peanut
ask
butter
us what
Marshmallow fluff.
Marshmallow fluff. That's
is
what
the
that
worst
is.
meal we've cooked for ourselves, and I've got the perfect answer for that.
Anything
All right.
Chris Davis has ever made.
Fuck you.
Oh, shit. Next question.
Moving on. Wingless asks, "What is everyone's opinion on scoring a game out of 10 still? Do you think it's outdated, or is there still some benefits to seeing what press outlets think of a new release?" So,
I am pretty
I think
supportive.
is this
you wanna
relevant with
see-
games that continually update or in quote early access?
I'm in the camp that numbers are bad.
I agree because
100%.
it's still.
I think if you want to know what a reviewer thought of the game, read their fucking review.
Yeah,
I agree.
people don't read these.
it's
days.
so easy to like just
That's
to
true.
let yourself be tempted to
Look at a number,
jump
just
straight to the
yeah.
number and don't worry about the context or the content of the review.
Like I.
With that said, I am fully supporting. I don't like the 10 out of 10 score. I'm fully supporting out of 11 now.
Let's get some
because
fucking
these
like
scores have to go to 11.
some smiley
Because
faces
then
in
you
there.
can have 10 games, but then there's still like a special unattainable.
Let's get
score
some
and everything
sunshine
else.
stickers.
See,
You know,
like,
whatever. Like it's. I think it's. I think
There's
it's a
no
matter
such
of.
thing as a 10.
I think it's a matter of. I will often find myself looking at like score. What's the word I'm looking for? Sites that accrue a bunch
Aggregators?
of aggregators. I will look at aggregation sites to see what kind of an overall everyone thought. But then I have a few sites that I will go to actually look at what they wrote about the game itself.
Yeah.
And I will read reviews and stuff like that. I mean, I think it's a scenario where we're kind of in a weird scenario where our situation is we kind of review games to an extent sometimes.
Kind of.
I mean,
we don't
but
do scores or anything.
correct. We
we did at
we
one
did
point.
at one point. We used to.
I would
Yeah.
like to do
But
that.
that's mostly just because like
And I never felt comfortable.
Yeah, I would love to have some free time too, Chris Davis.
Yeah.
That would be delightful if
you
I
gotta
did.
play the game. You gotta have
Yeah.
time to
The
fucking play
numbers-
the-
Luckily, I'm single and I've got nothing to do in
The
life.
numbers, they not only do not reflect nuance, which I think if you're going to have a serious critical discussion about anything, you have to have some kind of capacity for nuance. I mean, this Far Cry discussion, I think, is a great example of that. And anytime people disagree with a review number, the conversation isn't about the game anymore. It's about how numbering systems should work.
Yeah.
And that's like the exact opposite of adding nuance to a conversation.
Like someone gives us a game at like a 7.5 and they're like, that's bullshit. It's at least a 7.8.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid, and everyone's got their own metrics. Some people go to 5, some people go to 10. Like a lot of movie reviewers will only do 4 stars, you know, or 2 thumbs up. From like honestly, Siskel and Ebert had it right. Like 2 thumbs up. It's either 1 thumb, 2 thumb, what? But it's not about that. It's about the discussion and what they
Correct.
actually like.
How
have
you got
say
to
about
that
the game.
decision? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
If
numbers.
you want a review from us, listen to our podcast.
I think the numbers are a mistake.
All right.
Roland has a great point in chat right there. Chris Davis gave The Division a 6 out of 10. Do you think 700 hours later that is at all reflective of your thoughts and opinions?
No,
of the game?
I think the game is
All right.
way better than
Let's
that.
move
You gave
on.
the game a 6?
5 out of 7.
Like based on what was there at launch?
I
Yeah,
know.
it kind of
Let's move on. We got more. We got a lot of questions, guys.
Okay.
Chai, what is the worst of the shady things you've done in the name of getting a little extra time for gaming? Skipped class, played offline to not get caught, lied to someone?
I think the worst I've probably ever done. It's probably, this is not that bad, but like, you know, I wasn't feeling great, right? I probably could have gone to school, but I kind of built it up a little bit more so I could stay home from school and play Dark Cloud 2 on release day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel good, yet I still somehow convinced my mother to take me to Target to buy the game. Which probably should have told her that, you know, maybe I wasn't as sick as I was saying I was. But hey, thanks, Mom. I played Dark Cloud 2 all day, and I wasn't really feeling that bad.
I'm going to reseat your mic now.
I have a story very similar to Nick's. Mine's about Halo 2, but it has the added dimension in that So the night before Halo 2 came out, I was on a field trip with band because I was a big band nerd in high school, and we were at the University of Florida, and like our band teacher was this young guy, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to take you all to my favorite restaurant. It's called Chipotle." And this is the first time. No. This was a long time ago. I did not know what a Chipotle was
before like McDonald's bought it.
Like. Yeah. This is way before that. This was like
This is
Tallahassee,
before Chipotle way.
or I mean, Gainesville was the closest Chipotle to where I lived, and that was like 3-4 hours away. So I'd never heard of this place. We went there, and the whole time I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, I really want to get out of school tomorrow, like skip school tomorrow, because all my friends are gonna play Halo 2 and hang out at my buddy Tyler's house. So I got to figure out how I'm gonna do this. We go to this Chipotle place. I learned that it's a burrito restaurant when we get there, and I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fake food poisoning. So we eat the whole night. We come back home. On the way home, like I'm already starting to play it up to my dad, like, oh, I don't feel so good. Something's wrong. I don't know. Blah. Next morning, fucking Oscar performance. Just try to get out of
dirty
bastard.
bastard.
My dad buys it. I wait for my parents to go to work. I sneak out of my house. I go to my buddy Tyler's house. We play Halo all day. It's great. Okay. I go back to school the next day, and 2 or 3 other people who were on that field trip with me are now also saying that they're sick from food poisoning. And I don't know if they actually were. I wasn't. I was lying. I don't know if they actually were sick or if they like thought I was lying and they're like, well, this is a great place to hitch our wagon. Like, what? Maybe
you were a trendsetter.
Maybe we've got food poisoning too. And it like created this whole big thing. Like the teacher like wrote a letter to the parents. Was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for all these kids to get sick. I just wanted to take them to my favorite burrito restaurant. Like all this stuff. And like one of the parents got like really fucking pissed off and like called the Chipotle and was like bitching at them like 2 days in a row about this whole thing. Might have gotten somebody fired.
That Chipotle closed down.
Yeah, might have gotten somebody fired from their job there.
Burned down.
And like we're doing practice later in the week, and like those kids who are also saying they're sick are like sitting out, and they're like, oh, Chris, if you're feeling bad too, you can sit out. And at this point I can't be like, oh no, I feel great, because everyone else who's sick is still sick. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Like, oh, it was a lie that got away from me really quickly.
But you get to play Halo 2.
All in the name of Halo 2, and that was the first time I ever skipped school in my life.
I similar to Nick, I kind of overplayed catching mono to like when you have
virus.
When you have mono,
disease.
you don't feel good, but you feel good enough.
But you can function.
You can function just fine. You just feel icky.
Yeah.
And what game was it for?
And it was for Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, that's a good one.
Well,
Yeah.
Nick would like that.
Yeah,
Just hype
hell
up.
yeah.
Play it up to Nick. All right.
Hell yeah.
Let's move on. Next question from Zero Skies. What is something you find hilarious but probably shouldn't?
So many things.
Ooh. I'm kind of a big fan of like sexist jokes. The thing that makes them,
let's get right to
we
it.
go.
yeah, hold on. The thing is, I don't make them with like I make them with Bernadette a lot, and she knows I'm not being serious, but I still think it's funny. Bernadette, who's probably listening when she should be driving right now. Bernadette, stop.
Oh man, see, this is like.
I mean, she's a woman.
Things...
It's kind of she needs to be careful when she's driving.
There it is. I was like, I wonder if he's gonna make the joke. I wonder if he's gonna do that. I don't know. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. But there's so many times where I'm like, that's pretty funny, but I'm not gonna tell anybody. I think that's funny. I mean, everybody feels that way about something.
Yeah.
Things that you find funny that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
American Dad.
You know what? That's fair.
Oh my god, that's pretty funny.
Like that show's kind of a piece of shit, but it has its moments.
It's funny. It's really funny.
There's like, I don't know. There's like, anytime I'm watching any stand-up comedian that doesn't really hold their tongue about anything, right? They'll make a joke and everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, that's pretty funny, even though it was clearly very inappropriate.
The problem with
I don't
this
know. That's
question,
pretty tame, but that's
the real problem with this question is that how do you give an answer without making yourself look like an asshole?
I mean, there are certain things that in your head, like maybe in your head, like I find that funny, but there's no way in hell I'm telling these people
I cannot get away with this.
Yeah.
I will be burned at the stake.
So I'm just gonna leave that there. I think steak burnies are pretty funny. I'm just kidding.
Dude, an overcooked steak is never good at all.
No, it's not.
Chris Davis.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Moving on.
Medium rare, bitch.
Next question.
Always order. Never mind.
From Andrew Townsend. Do trophies or achievements ever motivate you to play a game a certain way? I recall carrying a damnable. Just damnable.
I know exactly.
Damnable?
He says damnable.
Like the word
Just
damn
say,
and
just
then
damn.
able?
Yeah.
Just read the word damn.
Damnable.
He remembers carrying that damn
that
gnome.
damn lawn gnome through an entire game once
Yes.
for merely 30 gamers.
Left 4 Dead 2,
Little
right?
Rocket Man.
Yeah.
All right.
I am a Little Rocket Man survivor.
I did that. I remember that.
I did that when I was younger.
Did we do that on the feed? We did
Probably.
Left 4 Dead 2 on the feed trying to get that damn gnome. And I remember at some point we got
Chomsky.
almost to the very end, almost to the fucking helicopter, and an explosion went off somewhere, and we turned, and the fucking gnome had gone through a mesh fence,
you couldn't
and it was
get
on the
to
other
it,
side of
yeah.
the fence, and you couldn't get to it. And we were like right there, and it was just like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. I try to ignore trophies and achievements as much as possible because it's like if you either you go for them all. Or
what's
there's
the
no point.
Yeah, you either go for the 100% or not
there's
at all.
No, there's
no
there are
path.
some that you just it's just such a unique challenge that you really want to go for it.
Yeah, there is. I mean, yeah.
Well, for me, it's either I look at them or I don't.
There's
the
very
thing.
few that are as exciting or as exciting as something like the gnome in Left 4 Dead 2, right? Those are obviously exceptions. Those are cool to to try and do with your friends and whatnot. But like, it's just in general, if you're playing a game and if you're not going to go for all of the achievements or all of the trophies, why bother?
Well, he and I are talking about the gnome in Half-Life 2 Episode 2, where you have to take that all the way from the very beginning of the game to the rocket at the very end of the game and put it in the rocket and have it launched into the atmosphere.
Oh,
yeah. The gnome Chomsky, the gnome in Left 4 Dead 1 or 2? 2 was almost a reference to Half-Life.
Yeah.
I would say this: Robin goes for achievements like nobody's business.
You
loves achievements.
You haven't experienced torture in life until you tried to stick a gnome into the baseboard of your hot rod car that you have to drive around while you're being chased by a combine helicopter that's dropping bombs and shooting at you, and it falling out of the car roughly every 100 feet.
Yeah, that sounds like that's probably more of a pain in the ass. But Left 4 Dead 2 sucks as well.
I think achievements are the 21st century's opiate of the masses. They are a system of control for stupid people.
Careful.
They have absolutely no bearing on your actual enjoyment of the game or anything like
Disagree?
that. They are dumb. They're stupid. I hate them.
You think
We got more
dumb?
questions. Moving on. Sir Thomas Thipple asks, what kind of music does 4Player crew listen to outside of game and video and movie soundtracks? Well, Nick obviously listens to metal.
I bought a country album this week.
What? Is it a metal country album?
Garth
No.
Brooks.
No, it's not Garth Brooks either.
Well, what's the point?
I listen to a lot of everything. I've got a lot of pop. I've got a lot of metal. I've got a lot of alternative. I've got I got some country. I listen to everything. Everyone just thinks of me as the guy who listens to metal because I'm the only one on the couch that appreciates it.
A variety of music. I will often listen to like top 40. I'll listen to kind of what's modern.
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen to if I'm I have multiple playlists or on my Spotify. I'll listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers is kind of one that I do enjoy. A lot of 80s stuff, mainly just because I grew up in the 90s and 80s was kind of classic, I guess, at the time. But yeah, I do listen to a wide variety of music.
I'll listen to classical. I'll listen to classic rock. I do a lot of classic rock.
Mountain Doom has that point. I often will just listen to Diane Young on repeat for hours and hours.
Fair enough.
There's something about driving all the way across Austin for an hour with the Final Countdown on repeat over and over and over.
Jesus
again.
Christ.
I could get in. Anything else? We move on. We got 2 more questions that are long questions. I don't know if the answers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm all over the place. I like a lot of kind of alternative bands and stuff. Arcade Fire.
I like Arcade Fire.
Stuff like that.
You like Modest Mouse?
Hell yeah!
Not really. I mean, it's okay. It's really 90s.
It is very 90s. That is accurate. That is an accurate statement.
Modest
Mouse is very 90s.
There are Modest Mouse songs that I like, but I wouldn't
I've only
say
got
that
one.
I'm a fan of Modest Mouse.
I only got one
Muse?
Modest Mouse album.
Muse,
a lot
yes.
of times, I mean,
I do like Muse.
I'm only listening to music when I'm like doing stuff. So a lot of times, like Charles Mingus and like Maynard Ferguson, I listen to a lot of jazz, like especially while I'm working. But that's about it.
All right, let's move on. Heck Animal asks, having just finished Prey, I think it is one of the best stealth action games and incentivizing the player to incorporate both stealth and run and gun strategies. I played through both the Dishonored and Deus Ex series, and while very good, they always made me feel like I had to choose between action and stealth. Why was Prey so successful at this? What other games strike a good balance between stealth and action strategies?
I think Prey succeeds at it because
I think you had the ability to just variety of
it doesn't overtly reward you for
doing one or the
strategy
other.
another.
Yeah.
Like a lot of games, like your Dishonoreds and your Metal Gear Solids will, they're set up so that you can play them run and gun, but the meta text of the game is very much telling you that you should not be doing that.
It actively discourages it.
Yeah, and it feels like it's wrong when you do that. Like even Dishonored, which I think is better about it than Metal Gear, still like trying to not be stealthy in Dishonored doesn't feel like a game. Really, it doesn't feel like you're playing a game that was designed to be played.
it feels like you're playing it wrong.
Prey is just like Prey doesn't care about what you're doing. It just cares about means and ends. Like you got to get here. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
And
there's also, it's just, I think more so than most games, especially the ones that he mentioned, I think in any given scenario in Prey, there's any number of solutions. I think, that may be true to some extent of the other games, but like in Dishonored, it was mostly, a stealth route. In Deus Ex, I feel like it was, I think both those games, I think both are prime examples of like, if you're not playing it stealthily, you may not be getting the most out of the experience. I think in Prey, not to mention the world was so open and you can go in any given direction, and there were so many different directions you could go at any given time. You can pick stealth, you can pick using science to get through stuff, whatever it is.
it also helps that like that sense of choice is built into the themes of the game.
Yeah, well, that's I wanted to say that like a lot of the times in Prey, when I chose what approach I wanted to take to a scenario was what the enemy was. How many of them were there? Did I think I could easily take them all on, or did I want to kind of sneak by and I'll come back later?
Also, what was the structure of the level design? What do you have on hand to use?
Could I even sneak?
When I fuck up in Prey, like a sling doesn't go my way, and I end up having to shoot my way out of a situation or whatever, or do whatever I have to do to survive, and I survive, I always just have this overwhelming feeling of, oh my god, I made it. I lived, and that's all that mattered. Whether it's Dishonored or Deus Ex or Assassin's Creed or whatever, those are all games that like they say they give you options, but usually when you fuck something up, sometimes you have that urge to like, I should just reload.
Yeah,
I fucked up. I should reload. This is not how you're supposed to play the game. You don't have to. Prey, I never felt the urge. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what it is that prevented me from having that urge, but like I never felt the urge to reload and Prey.
Yeah, I
just kind of went with it, and that is what makes that game unique, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more question we need to get to tonight.
Cool.
From Zerby. At what point do you feel that games should have incentives? I hear a lot... Oh, sorry, my phone timed out. I hear a lot of people downing Sea of Thieves for not having any means to progress and get better equipment while ignoring the monument-to-monument gameplay being super fun and unique. Do you feel some people are too focused on the game giving them rewards for play rather than just enjoying the experience? Or should all games have an incentive, either as simple as levels that don't give you anything more than a number of actual improved gear and such?
I don't know if incentive is the right word, but I feel like there should be an objective or a goal or some underlining, something that doesn't make me feel like I'm necessarily wasting my time playing a game.
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird because what you're basically talking about is a dichotomy between gameplay that is super engaging on a moment-to-moment basis versus incentive to keep playing a game. And incentive almost always means long-term behavior of a player. It doesn't really, like, when you're doing something in the moment, you're typically not doing it. I mean, like, you don't, I'm trying to think, like, of games where I've had a problem between, like, gameplay versus long-term incentive. And one of them that comes to mind is, like, Diablo. I think Diablo is, like, kind of fun to play in the moment. I get really bored of it really easily, but I've played it as long as I have because of long-term incentive, right?
Mm-hmm. That loot grind.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, a point where those two need to meet and be in agreement. I think that the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is way more important than incentive. I think incentive is really only there if you care about people playing your game for more than like 3-5 hours, then you build in incentive. And half the time that is just a position of marketing. That is like, yeah, you could play a game like Far Cry 3 for 5 hours, have a lot of fun with it, walk away from it and have like a really positive experience in your mind. But in the developer publisher mind, that's a failure because you didn't stay and play, 40 hours. You didn't come back to it 6 months from now. You didn't come back to it next year, because of a long-term incentive.
Or you didn't give them additional money.
Right, exactly. So incentive is, I don't know, less of a game design issue in my opinion and more of like a marketing issue.
I just feel like, especially if it's a game that is built with the hope of playing for many hours, right? If I play a game for 40 hours and there is like nothing that really distinguishes my character or my game at the 40-hour mark from the when I started the game, I feel like that's a problem. Like, I feel like there needs to be something that you can be working towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we talked about it when we talked about Sea of Thieves, and that's why I was a little bit worried, because everything seems cosmetic.
But then I don't you have to like consider like online shooters like Overwatch. That game does not change. By definition, does not change from the first hour versus like 30th hour. The only thing that really changes is the inherent skill behind everyone.
You do level up your character. Like when you're doing Call of Duty, you do. I was talking about Call of Duty.
What did I say?
You said Overwatch.
You said
Overwatch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did I hear Call of Duty?
I don't know. That's weird.
Never mind.
You're weird.
Yeah. In fact, I kind of don't like the way Call of Duty does stuff like that because your incentive is basically a model of like, okay, the game will be fun later after you've put in like 20 hours and died a shit ton, but right now you get the shitty starter rifle, the shitty starter pistol, and no perks. Good luck. Like, I don't really care for that. I kind of like more, Overwatch does have a quote unquote incentive system with like their loot boxes and unlocking like new skins and cosmetic items, and that, that kind of works, but none of that changes the game, and that game without any of that would still be just as fun 60 hours in as it is the first hour.
Well, also there's
that is a perfect example of a game that brings you back strictly because of the gameplay experience, not because of a long-term incentive.
I also think the approach to that has to be totally different than a game like Sea of Thieves, though. Just because of the nature of how the game is, like, the point of the game, the way the game is designed, like, it may work for something like Overwatch, but I think that would totally be a disservice in something like.
But I mean, there's the main difference there is co-op versus competitive, because Overwatch is competitive in nature, and the most basic overall incentive of playing a match in Overwatch is to win that match in Overwatch.
Yeah,
sure.
Versus in a game that's
long term to be better at Overwatch.
Yeah.
But that is not like a designed incentive necessarily. That's not a reward that the game's giving you.
Well, you win the match and you get those rewards for winning the match.
But that incentive
that could be as simple as getting
meaningless.
That could be as simple as the overall score that you earn and your kill count, kill ratio, whatever. These are like small personal things that you care about. You can choose to care about, but there's also the points you get towards opening loot boxes.
I'm just saying, when I like am thinking about playing Overwatch, when I'm like, man, I want to go home and play that right now, I'm not thinking about, man, I need to get to that next rank. Or I'm not thinking about, man, I need to unlock that Diva skin. I'm thinking about, fuck, that game is really fun to play. I want to be doing that. You know?
Yeah.
But there are also people out there that have that loot grind that they want.
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
There are some games that
I think we
that's
should
all they
move
are.
on. I think we should move on. It's late.
Nolan wants us out of his house.
That too.
well, that's our last question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to all our patrons for asking those very good questions. Every week we post a thread on patreon.com/4Player where you can ask us any question you want as long as you were a patron.
Yep,
on the
$1 or more
or
per month.
more.
You can ask us any question you want every week, and you get 24-hour early access to all of our podcast episodes without ads, I might add.
Why would you add an ad, Nick?
Shit. You know what I mean. Anyways, let's wrap up the show. 4-player minute. You know what it is. Hype, sweat, thank you, and fuck you. Please, let's keep them short tonight. Who's going first?
Never happens.
Nolan?
I'm ready.
Crispy?
All right.
If you skip Crispy, then that means you're going to forget him eventually.
My 4-player
I
minute
won't
starts
forget.
now. My hype is for Ni No Kuni, especially Evermore, Your Kingdom. I'm excited to play more of that. The thing is, there's a lot of research you can do to discover new abilities. But the thing is, all of them, most of them require someone running that facility with a special trait. And you'll find people in the world that will be like, oh, do this quest for me. And they have that trait, but it's like, oh, fuck. I got to be level like 50 is the recommended level, and I'm like 20.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could try it, but I'll probably die. So yeah, I'm hyped to play more of that. My sweat goes to Ready Player One, the movie. Comes out tomorrow in theaters. Worried about that. We'll see how that goes. Yeah,
It'll be interesting.
It's a scenario where I did read the book, and I have a lot of thoughts and visions on what it should be, and I know it's going to be different. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, my thank you is going to go to Nick for co-oping A Way Out with me.
Yeah.
It was a very enjoyable experience. I had a lot of fun doing it.
As did I.
And then my fuck you is going to go to Leo Caruso. He knows why, what he did. Yep, that's it.
Who that?
Are you fucking kidding me, Nick?
Oh!
You played as him for
Oh my
5
God.
hours.
One of the main two
I thought you
characters
said-
of A Way Out.
I thought you said Leah.
No, Leo Caruso.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's my 4-player minute.
Cool.
My first hype this week goes out to the Occupation. This is the next game from
Oh yeah.
White Paper Games, the guys behind Ether 1. I didn't really play Ether 1.
That was
But-
what George did, right?
Yeah, George
Yeah.
did, and it was like one of his favorite games of the year.
Yep.
That year. But they put out a gameplay video of the Occupation the other day, and it looks fucking cool. You play as a journalist that is in 1986 Britain, in which there's been a terrorist attack, and it's a set-length game of 4 hours long, and you have to sneak around government offices to uncover exactly what happened and report the story.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And you're actually logically carrying things around in your briefcase by putting things in and out and opening files and sneaking around these offices. It looks really fucking smart and really cool.
I'm going to check that out. That sounds cool.
You should, I'll link you the trailer.
Please do.
It's pretty fucking cool. My second one goes to Jurassic World Evolution. They also put out new gameplay that day for the first time, actual gameplay. And dude, the systems that they are putting into this game are fucking substantial. There is that macro level of building your own island, which, by the way, it's your own island. It's not Isla Nublar or Sorna. It's entirely narrated by Jeff Goldblum, who is in character as Ian Malcolm, and he's admonishing you for building the park the entire time, and then really getting after you when shit fucks up.
Did the gameplay video show any of his narration or include any?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
You don't actually hear it from the one video I watched. But there's also that level of micromanagement. Like, for example, if you release a dinosaur into a paddock,
Why would you do that?
It's a carnivore, but you accidentally release it into a cage with herbivores, and it starts eating the herbivores. You can have your ranger station dispatch a helicopter to tranquilize the predator, but you're flying the helicopter, and then you get to the location, and then you're like the agent with like the tranquilizer rifle inside the helicopter shooting the fucking dinosaur.
So you're controlling all of those different aspects of it.
And every time they introduce a dinosaur to the paddock, they always introduce it from the perspective of a person on the ground at human height, so you really get a sense of scale and grandeur of the fucking dinosaurs.
That's cool.
There's really fucking cool things.
I'm excited.
That are
That's pretty dope.
My sweat goes to XCOM 2. I didn't actually get to talk about that tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'll talk about it next week if I'm allowed.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Let me tell you, I completely changed my mind about War of Chosen after playing it for like 20 hours this past weekend.
So you're not positive about it anymore.
Oh, I am much more positive.
Oh.
I am much more positive. I was down on it previously.
I thought you sounded pretty positive on it.
I was positive, but not nearly as much. Yeah, I'm going to try and do that, but I also have fucking Far Cry to play, and Jesus Christ.
Yep.
As much time as I fucking have on my hands, I don't have that much time. And I don't know, my fuck you goes to Ed, because he's coming down here.
Oh, I forgot about that. When is he coming down here?
Next week. He's going to be on the show next week.
Yeah.
Ed's going to be on the show next week.
Actually, no, my fuck you goes to Nick for revealing that Ed is going to be on the podcast next week.
Oh.
And not letting it be a fucking surprise like it should have been.
It doesn't need to be a surprise. Ed's going to be here next week. Yay!
I forgot.
Sorry.
So,
Thank you. Crispy? I didn't forget you.
Okay.
Spoilers.
My first hype this week is for more Far Cry 5. Like I said, having a lot of fun with it. Can't wait to get back to it. My second hype this week is for No Man's Sky Next, because, like I said before, when we talked about the Atlas Rising update, they have done a pretty significant overhaul to it so far, and if anything's to be believed, which, I know the jokes, this new update will be an even bigger overhaul, more additions, which I think after that it might be appropriate for some of you guys to go back and take a look.
Hey, I said I wanted to go back to it after we talked about Atlas Rising, because that sounded pretty good.
My sweat this week is going to be the comments for this show next week. And my thank you goes to you guys for what I thought was a very wonderful, stimulating discussion this week.
I liked it.
I wish you wouldn't be so down on disagreement, Nick.
I'm not down on... why is it always focused on me? Oh, my fuck you week goes to Crispy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
All right.
You got 3 others to go, Nick. Come on.
My hype this week goes to Far Cry 5. It turns out Robin's actually going out of town this week. So I'm literally just going to sit around all weekend and probably just do nothing but play Far Cry. It's going to be a beautiful day outside. I'm just going to stay inside and play Far Cry 5.
You could open a window.
I
could open a window. I might do that actually. But I'm going to play Far Cry 5 all weekend. I think I'm very much looking forward to doing that. Another hype, second hype, is actually a movie. A Quiet Place. I'm getting really excited to watch that movie. I don't know why. That movie looks right up my alley. It looks really interesting. Looks really creative from a horror perspective. I also think it's really fascinating that it's directed by John Krasinski, and he's been doing a lot of stuff outside of what you would typically expect him to do. Mm-hmm. And apparently it's really good. The early reviews of it have been very, very positive.
Apparently he's talented.
He's very talented. He's not just that funny guy from The Office. He's really fucking talented. So very much looking forward to watching that.
Who did he play in The Office?
What?
Fuck
Jim?
you.
I've never watched The Office.
What?
He played Jim. You've never watched the...
I know
700 hours.
Even I've watched The Office.
I'm on my third entire series run through.
I'm fairly certain Bernadette's probably watched it 5 times.
I'm not much of a Steve Carell fan. Okay,
fair enough.
I guess
the other character that's not Steve Carell, that's
or Dwight
or Dwight.
Or Rainn Wilson.
Good point.
You should watch The Office. It's really good.
My fuck you of the week. I'm gonna give to
You already said Crispy.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it
for
there.
Thanking you.
I'll leave it there. Fuck you, Crispy.
You don't have the energy for an additional fuck you?
No, I'll say my fuck you is to the one thing that really bugs me about Far Cry 5 is just the constant it's like the buzzing of flies everywhere you go, just
dude,
cars coming out of nowhere. I feel there's
There was a couple of times I got spotted and shot at by vehicles that had not loaded into the environment yet.
God damn. Guys.
Yeah.
What do you...
Fuck
that.
My fuck you of the week. I'm going to do 2 fuck yous. Other fuck you of the week goes to the fucking wild turkeys in Far Cry 5.
I saw one of those kill somebody.
Yes,
yeah.
guys.
I was like, what the fuck?
I'll show you the clip after we cut the recording. Fucking, I'm playing. I'm watching. There's a NPC like a hireable guy in front of me, right? And I just saved him, and I'm like, whoo! He made it. He's alive because an explosion just went off next to him. We're good. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking straight at him. Wild turkey just comes from the right side of the screen, just boom, and just attacks him. And he fucking punches the turkey in the face. It was fantastic.
Turkeys are the new honey badger in this game.
Yeah, you're right.
Except
Turkeys
the
are.
honey badgers are also still...
Yeah, they're still
Wait,
around.
there's
Well,
honey
now,
badgers?
now they're the Wolverines.
Wolverines,
Oh.
yeah.
they're fucking the
You can also get sprayed by skunks.
Skunks, yeah.
Does that actually do anything to you?
I
other
don't
than,
know.
Makes you trip for a bit.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty interesting. Anyways, yeah, those are my fuck yous. That's my 4-player minute. Guys, it's been a roller coaster of a show. Thank you for thank you for hanging out and listening. Join us again next Thursday night for another episode. Of course, we'll be talking about more video games. Like I said earlier, Brad is going to hopefully be making his gradual re-entry into the podcast starting next week, maybe. Yeah, if you haven't yet, please join our Discord. You can find us at discord.gg/4player. All kinds of great conversations going on there all the time with us, with other members of the community. It's great. So check us out. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah.
4playernetwork.com is, of course, the website where you can find all of our podcast episodes. We will see y'all next week. Good night.
Bye.